Chapter 419. The huge black iron triangle continued to grow, and the sharp horn pointed directly at Naruto, falling from the sky with a fierce momentum. And the speed was extremely fast. Naruto raised his hand, and the 5 huge wooden hands used to seal Manda were controlled by Naruto to move towards the iron triangle. At the same time, the Kazekage beside Orochimaru changed his hand seals. In a split second, the black iron triangle that had been condensed together suddenly dispersed and continued to shoot downwards like rain. Magnet release. Iron Sand Time Rain. Naruto put his palms together, and the 5 huge hands transformed into a sky curtain to block it. Orochimaru sneered, "Too late." At the moment when Naruto blocked the iron sand rain in front of him with all his strength. Behind Naruto, an iron spear rushed forward and instantly pierced Naruto's body. Orochimaru raised the corner of his mouth and sneered, "It seems that I overestimated you." Next, before he finished speaking, a sword lightly cut through Orochimaru's body. Naruto replied with a smile, "I'll return that sentence to you." Bang! Naruto's body that was penetrated disappeared. Obviously, it was a clone. Orochimaru fell to the ground in disbelief. He stared at Naruto angrily. The Kazekage's iron sand attacked again. Naruto didn't dodge and continued to look down at Orochimaru and said, "Don't worry, I will resurrect you soon, just like Kabuto. The next time we meet, we will be family." When the iron rain was 1 meter away from Naruto, it suddenly slowed down and stagnated in the air as if it was in a mud bath. Orochimaru stared at the iron sand rain in the sky and shouted, "Continue to attack." However, the iron sand in the sky was still motionless. Naruto waved his hand, and the iron sand turned into an iron wire and cut towards the Kazekage. Orochimaru couldn't believe it and said in horror, You can also use magnet release." The iron wire cut the Kazekage into pieces. The Kazekage's body reassembled. Tobirama, who had been preparing for a long time, finally found the opportunity to make a move. The scroll unfolded and the seal was launched. The Kazekage who had just gathered his body was subdued before he could launch another attack. "You've lost. Go in peace. Very soon, you will be resurrected by me. With your talent, it's only a matter of time before you come back to life again if you want to research the true longevity technique. So, there's no need to feel too much regret." Naruto smiled kindly. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, then he laughed strangely and said sarcastically, "Do you really think you have one?" Naruto's heart skipped a beat. Orochimaru's voice was hoarse. "Of course you won. At least you took away Sasuke. I'm looking forward to our next fight." With a bang sound, Orochimaru's body, which was cut in two, turned into a pile of snakes on the ground. Naruto was very familiar with this scene. This was Orochimaru's snake clone. When did Orochimaru use the snake clone to escape? Naruto didn't know at all. Orochimaru's escape didn't make sense because the location of the satellite positioning system didn't change. Wait. Naruto thought of a possibility. He raised his hand, swept the snakes on the ground, and grabbed one of them. Sure enough, this snake had Orochimaru's identity card attached to it. How did he do it? After all, this card was bound to Orochimaru. Without Naruto's permission, it's impossible to transfer it. Unless when Naruto gave Orochimaru the identity card, Orochimaru used the snake clone. But that's impossible, because at that time, Naruto also gave Orochimaru the soul of an arm, and Naruto saw that soul fuse into Orochimaru's body. Could it be that his identity card was cracked by Orochimaru? Naruto pinched the snake's 7 inches. The snake was still alive, and it didn't dare to struggle. It loosened its head and resigned to its fate. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked at the snake. The snake was white. Could it be Orochimaru? This idea was a bit ridiculous, but if it wasn't, it couldn't explain the current situation. "Hey! Admit it, are you Orochimaru?" Naruto asked the snake. The snake's small head shook like a rattle. "Believe it? That's impossible." "Well, whether you are or not, you can go on your way. If we're talking about right or wrong, you're wrong because you followed the wrong person." With that said, Naruto planned to give the snake a quick death. But at this time, the snake suddenly cried. That's right, it cried like raindrops. Tears flowed like a fountain. Snakes cry? Do snakes have tear glands? No way. Naruto opened his perception barrier and scanned the snake's body. For a moment, every blood vessel and nerve on the snake's body could be seen clearly. And then Naruto discovered that the snake really did have tear glands. Aren't snakes cold-blooded animals? Not to mention tear glands, they don't even have sweat glands. Wait. Naruto felt the snake in his hand again. This snake was warm. A hot-blooded snake? What kind of joke was this? This wasn't an alien creature. This was a snake in front of him, not some other animal. Wah! Wah wah wah! The snake cried loudly, and the small fountain of tears grew even larger. Naruto instinctively used chakra to protect himself. Who knew if these tears were poisonous, or if it was some kind of special attack? Naruto also collected some. After activating the system's clone rental function, Naruto summoned his own clone. He then tested it on the spot. The results showed that it wasn't poisonous, and it was made of ordinary tears. Naruto looked at the snake again. There were no runes on the snake's body. It was clean and smooth. Could it be? Naruto took out a syringe and drew half a vial of blood from the white snake's crying face. He then tested it again. The result was, human blood flowed from the snake's body. I see. The first Naruto and the second Naruto watched from the side for a long time. Seeing Naruto suddenly laugh, they couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this snake?" Naruto felt both angry and amused. He explained, "This Orochimaru, he fused his own cells with the snake to create a snake with his blood. This was why this snake could use an identity card." All the mysteries that had been troubling Naruto were solved. The second Naruto stared at the white snake that was weeping and said, "Then what should we do with this snake?" Naruto looked at the white snake. The white snake shrank back in fear, its face full of grievance and panic. "Let's not kill it for now." Instantly, the white snake's eyes widened, and then it cried again. The fear on its face was gone, and this time, it was tears of joy. It also puckered its lips as if it had been wronged. Naruto chuckled, "You're still Orochimaru's snake son, why don't you look like Orochimaru at all?" Or perhaps Orochimaru was also a crybaby when he was young. The white snake held back its tears and sobbed rhythmically. An expression that said, "I'm not a crybaby." But one thing was for sure, this snake's IQ was very high. It seemed to be able to understand everything Naruto said. "Let me ask you something, are you willing to follow me? If you are, I won't kill you." The white snake nodded while sobbing. Naruto looked at the identity card he took from the snake and smirked. "From now on, you'll be called Orochimaru." Saying so, Naruto stuck the identity card on the snake's body again. The card softened and stuck to the skin. On the side, the first Naruto's ashes rose from his body. Edo Tensei's time was up. First Naruto was taken aback, then a relieved smile appeared on his face. "I'm leaving, don't summon me again, or next time, I'll kick your ass no matter what." As he said, the first Naruto's chest bulged. The woman's body was exposed once again. First Naruto's mouth twitched. This guy didn't forget to stab his heart before leaving. "Boy, don't let me meet you again." Naruto quickly waved his hand and said, "I didn't do it, it should be because of the technique's removal." But, first Naruto, Sama, you're really enchanting now. Tobirama endured for a long time on the side, but when he heard the word enchanting, he finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Then he kneeled on the ground and laughed without any image. And it was the kind of laughter that was full of joy. "Waha! Ha ha! Brother, I didn't expect you to have this day. Wahahaha!" First Hokage's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, staring at Tobirama. "Boy, don't meet me again." Tobirama's laughter stopped, and this time he laughed even more impudently. How long has it been? How long has he been waiting for the day when he could ridicule his brother without any pressure? Now, it could be said that he had fulfilled his wish. Then he boldly shouted, "Brother, if you can wear women's clothing, it would be perfect." At this time, ashes shed another layer, revealing the clothes that this body originally wore, which was women's clothing. Second Naruto was surprised, then he snapped his fingers and ordered the system, "Quick, quick, quick. Take a 360-degree picture of this scene with me, without any blind spots." First Naruto's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and his whole person fell into a huge loss. You. First Naruto called you for a long time, but no one came out, and finally he said, "Just you wait. I'll wait in the world after death to kick your ass." Second Naruto waved his hand and said, "That's impossible, we've all died, and the world after death doesn't exist. Brother, rest in peace. Your appearance in women's clothing will forever be imprinted in my heart." First Naruto, "Mother Kerr, give me back my cute, obedient and serious little brother." His cheeky face was simply a replica of Naruto. Naruto really was poisonous. And this poison was contagious. When the last wisp of ashes scattered, first Naruto's soul could still be seen because of the rising ashes, and the anger on his face disappeared. He mouthed, "Jiayou." This was a brother's last blessing to his little brother. It wasn't because of Naruto's identity, but because he wanted his little brother to fulfill his dream. Chapter 420. Naruto could feel his consciousness gradually dissipating. His body seemed to be floating, but it also seemed to be not moving. In a trance, there was a trace of feeling, and this feeling was gradually dissipating with the passage of time. That feeling was very strange. He didn't pay attention to it when he died in the past, but this time it was particularly clear. Is this the feeling after death? This thought only flashed in his heart. Then Naruto thought of his younger brother again. That guy dared to laugh at him. He laughed so loudly and so unscrupulously. If he could, he really wanted to whip his little butt. And the culprit, Naruto. It's a pity. He may never have the chance again. Because he died, this is really a sad thing. How much time has passed? Hashirama couldn't feel it. He could only feel his body getting lighter and lighter, his thoughts becoming slower and slower, and his sense of the world becoming more and more blurred. Gradually, he felt that he was disconnected from the world. It was as if he was locked in a dark room. No, it was more terrible than being locked in a dark room. Being locked in a dark room only deprived him of his vision. Here, he couldn't feel anything except sight, hearing, and touch. It was as if he was the only one left in the whole world. Was he afraid? He didn't feel that, he just felt a little lonely. How good would it be if he had a companion at this time? This should be Hashirama Lee's last thought before he couldn't feel it. Next, even he couldn't feel it, he was born in heaven and earth and returned to heaven and earth. However, the dissipated souls suddenly gathered together again. The muddle-headed spirit gradually became clear as the soul gathered. This feeling had never been there before. It was like the first ray of sun rising in the morning. The lonely person once again received a caring hug. It was the connection between him and the world. Or it was the feeling of the world. The dissipated soul gathered more and more, and this feeling became clearer. Who am I? Where am I? It was as if a newborn life had doubts about its own existence. Then the memories of the past reappeared in his mind like a slide. Those scenes, from the Warring States period, the first time he picked up a kunai, the first time he went out of the house, the first time he met a close friend. From the bond with his parents to the bond with the world, the seeds were sweet and bitter. The pursuit of life, the unwillingness of life, the persistence of life, and the regret of death. Everything that he had experienced, he didn't forget a single thing. In an instant, he experienced everything that had happened in his previous life. I'm not dead yet? No. I should have died, and not just once. Then, had he been summoned back? Naruto Senju Hashirama suddenly opened his eyes. He saw a pale face, sickly and exhausted. On that face, a pair of golden snake eyes stared at him, like a venomous snake hiding in the depths of the night. There was not a shred of emotion, only the persistence of life and the fear of death. Most importantly, it was an old acquaintance. This time, you're the one who summoned me? Strange, you didn't erase my intelligence. Did you think we could get along well? Or do you think you can completely control me with your spell? Hashirama stared at the man in front of him playfully. His old rival, Orochimaru. Orochimaru pursed his lips, and a smile appeared on his cold face. Instead of answering, he asked, "Then how did Naruto get along with you? Can you get along well with him, or can he completely control you?" Speaking of Naruto, the memory that wasn't very long resurfaced again. What girl? Hashirama subconsciously raised his hand and touched his chest. Very good, it's great. Below. Well, it's soft. Although he didn't intend to use it, it's very reassuring. Naruto didn't answer. Orochimaru spoke again. If you don't want to recover your consciousness, it's okay. Anyway, I don't ask much of you. Orochimaru took out a talisman. That was the talisman that sealed the main personality. Hashirama was stunned, then he shouted, "Wait a minute!" Orochimaru's hand stopped in mid-air, and the talisman was in his hand. "Wait a minute, I still have some unfinished wishes. Let me sort them out first. Well, except for letting me attack Woodleaf, I can cooperate with you a little, but there is a condition." Orochimaru retracted his hand and said, "Let's hear it." The reason why Orochimaru didn't erase Naruto's main personality was mainly because he was a little curious about how Naruto invited Naruto. Although he guessed that it was related to himself, it was just a guess. He still wanted to know the truth if he had the chance. Naruto straightened his thoughts and said with a serious face, "I want to beat Naruto, and my brother, well, this is my wish." Great Snow Mountain Laboratory. After Naruto gave the white snake to Defei for training, he and Tobirama planned the next plan. The plan of Edo Tensei Vortex Mito. There were only two people in the conference room, Naruto and Tobirama. The two sat on both sides of the tea table. On the tea table, steam rose from the hot tea brewed by Little Gurney. Naruto filled the tea and gave a cup to Tobirama, and then he tasted the tea himself. In the past, Naruto didn't know how to drink tea, but as his body strengthened, his tongue became more and more sensitive. Gradually, he began to like this drink, which was bitter at first, but with endless aftertaste. In addition, he was not afraid of the heat anymore, and he could drink freely as he liked. However, Naruto's tea tasting skill isn't something that ordinary people can learn. He sniffed the tea like a normal person. Then, he drank it. The teacup fell on the tea table. Naruto raised his left hand and stared at the seal left by the seal on it. This was the core formation he learned from Sasori that could decompose chakra. Because the principle hasn't been understood yet, Naruto was struggling whether to remove the seal from his body first. Otherwise, he would always feel uneasy. Tobirama didn't drink like Naruto. He put down the teacup slightly. Brother left. Now I can reincarnate brother and sister-in-law out of Edo Tensei. Naruto retracted his gaze. Well, in addition to this seal, I also want her to break the seal on my body. Tobirama was a little hesitant. Then he picked up the teacup and drank. Naruto frowned. If there's anything you want to say, just say it. Tobirama said, since the technique on your body was left by Yondaime Naruto, isn't it easier to find Yondaime Naruto? Naruto regretted letting Tobirama speak. The seal left by Yondaime Naruto was naturally the easiest to be broken by Yondaime Naruto. But he didn't want to see his father. In what capacity, son? Naruto was silent, and Tobirama held the teacup and drank again. Or pecked, it was no different from a bird drinking water. And it was a timid quail. This matter, let's talk about it later. As for returning to Woodleaf to retrieve Uzumaki Mito's ashes, let's leave it for the Chunin exam held by Woodleaf in half a year. The most important thing now is the news of Tsunade, and the whereabouts of the Clown Emperor Mercenary Guild. At the same time, in the Woodleaf interrogation room, Yamanaka Inoichi was reading Zero's memory with the mind-body technique. Soon he saw Hinata and Naruto. Jiraiya-sama. Yamanaka Inoichi told the information obtained from Zero's memory to Jiraiya, who was waiting for the news. Jiraiya was silent. Yamanaka Inoichi whispered, Hinata joined other organizations, which constitutes betrayal. Not waiting for Yamanaka Inoichi to finish, Jiraiya interrupted, Hinata's file in Woodleaf has long been cancelled. Where did betrayal come from? Who did she betray? Yamanaka Inoichi quickly shut up. Then he changed his words. Then, the news that Naruto is still alive. Jiraiya frowned. The matter about the human pillar force is the village's top secret. Yamanaka Inoichi shut up again. Jiraiya told Yamanaka Inoichi, take the 3 newly arrested girls to the lowest level of the prison, and keep them under strict guard, and outsiders are not allowed to visit. After that, Jiraiya left. Yamanaka Inoichi followed Jiraiya's instructions and went to Naruto's office. He felt that he must tell Naruto about this matter. Chapter 421. There are many things in this world that conflict with each other. For example, cats and dogs, dogs and chickens. For example, Sasuke and Sasuke's sensei. In the past, it was Orochimaru, and now it's Tobirama. Hey, kid. Can't you fight except for that eye? On the battlefield, Tobirama's hand seals. Night Walk Jutsu launched. Sasuke's eyes suddenly turned black. Tobirama quickly stepped forward, trying to catch Sasuke with his backhand. Sasuke didn't panic because his vision was deprived. Chakra poured into the Sharingan, and the unique spiritual power of the Sharingan directly tore Tobirama's genjutsu in an extremely overbearing manner. Then the two engaged in close combat. Tobirama's speed was getting faster and faster. Not only did the body of Edo Tensei not limit Tobirama's performance, but because of the characteristics of Edo Tensei, Tobirama can also make attacks that ordinary people can't complete. This made the already tricky anti-joint technique even more dangerous and hard to predict. But even so, Sasuke's defense is also very methodical. This is not because Sasuke's combat experience is comparable to Tobirama's. It's because of the dynamic vision of the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Although the dynamic vision of the Uchiha clan is not as extreme as the Byakugan, the huge spiritual power of the Uchiha clan represents a stronger brain with a stronger calculation ability. The dynamic vision obtains information, and the brain speculates the way to deal with it at the fastest speed. This is the foundation of the Uchiha clan's ability to play with ninja tools. It's also the foundation of being able to deal with it freely in taijutsu. But to Sasuke's surprise, in the next moment, Tobirama hit him in the air. This palm seemed ordinary, but at the moment when the power was released to the extreme, a chakra shot into his body at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, Sasuke's eyes turned black. This is the Hyuga clan's empty palm that can seal aperture. Tobirama is not a member of the Hyuga clan. How can he use vacuum palm? Sasuke's acupoints were sealed, and Chakra's Sharingan couldn't continue, and the 3 Tomo Sharingan instantly turned back to an ordinary Sharingan. Before Sasuke could figure it out, the winner was decided. According to our agreement, I've dealt with you using physical techniques. From today onwards, you have to listen to me. Tobirama captured Sasuke and didn't even give him a chance to fight back. The 5 hands grabbed onto Sasuke's shoulders, dislocating his bones and tendons. Sasuke's joints were dislocated. This is a trick that Tobirama and Naruto explored together. The theoretical basis is based on the human body structure in medical ninjutsu. Do you admit defeat? The pain of dislocation was unimaginable to those who had never experienced it. However, Sasuke was also a man. He gritted his teeth and did not make a sound. After hesitating for a moment, he finally replied, I admit defeat, but you have to tell me why you can use the Hyuga clan's taijutsu. Tobirama let go of his hand. The point store bought it for 500 points. Sasuke was still in a state of blindness. He stared at the position where Tobirama stood a second ago and said, Impossible. The Hyuga clan's taijutsu requires the Byakugan to perform. Even if you get the book that Hinata sold, it's useless. Tobirama snorted. Who said that? You said that. Who else needs to say that? This is common sense. Sasuke turned his head to the place where Tobirama spoke, but in fact, Tobirama had already walked around Sasuke to other positions, so Sasuke really looked like a blind man. How can you see the acupoints without the Byakugan? How can you hit the acupoints if you can't see them? Tobirama raised his eyebrows and asked, "Do you have an identity card?" Sasuke was stunned. "The one that Naruto gave?" Tobirama nodded and said, "Yes, that's it." Sasuke nodded. "Yes, what's wrong? Don't change the subject." Tobirama rolled his eyes. "Since you have that card, there's a very common little function on it called the perception enchantment, don't you know?" Of course, Sasuke knew about the perception enchantment and used it. When he didn't use the Sharingan, the perception enchantment was a good little function for him. But later, the card was sealed by Orochimaru and became useless. "I used it, what's wrong?" Tobirama stopped and looked down at Sasuke and said, "Since you used it, you can't think of a reason, are you a fool? Don't tell me you never used your spiritual link directly to the perception enchantment? Only use the system's graphical prompt page." Sasuke was even more confused. Tobirama didn't say much and directly ordered, "Now try to connect directly to the perception enchantment with your spiritual link." Sasuke didn't know Tobirama's intention, but he still tried it. Spiritual link is originally a means of genjutsu to lock the target, which Sasuke is very good at. Sasuke mentally connected to the perception enchantment. Then the message Sasuke got was no longer the system's graphical prompt screen, but a sphere with a diameter of 5 meters. Within the sphere, including the flow of chakra, and his body can be seen clearly. And it's very thorough, even the blood flowing in the blood vessels can be seen. It's just that there's too much information, and the brain is a little dazed when adapting. Tobirama asked, "Now you still don't understand why I can use the Hyuga clan's taijutsu? With the perception enchantment, it's not difficult to see the acupoints, and there's also the acupoint reminder function. Connect the super brain system to it, and it can also remind the effect of each acupoint after being hit. How simple." Sasuke looked at Tobirama stupidly. "What did you say? What acupoint reminder function? What super brain system?" Tobirama was stunned, and suddenly realized, "Oh, I forgot that's the function of the student card after installing the upgrade package. You don't have that authority now. Let's not talk about this. I just want to tell you that the Sharingan is not as powerful as you think. If you rely too much on it, when you lose these eyes, you will be a waste. So, since you worship me as your teacher, from today, you have to give up these eyes, and you are not allowed to use them without my permission. So you can be really strong. Give up the Sharingan? This is very Tobirama." After all, Tobirama regards these eyes and the Uchiha bloodline as ominous. Sasuke hesitated. Enduring the pain in his hand, he thought for a long time and firmly replied, "I won't give up these eyes. I will use my dojutsu to defeat that person's dojutsu." "Don't agree?" Tobirama's eyes narrowed slightly. "If you don't agree, you can't be my disciple." Sasuke stubbornly said, "Not rare." A kunai appeared in Tobirama's hand. It was the kunai that he tasted with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. It was cold against Sasuke's throat. "If you don't agree, you will die." "Are you kidding?" Tobirama's eyes dimmed, and the killing intent was revealed. "The soul doesn't lie." The so-called killing intent is the spiritual power sent out by the soul contains the idea of killing the other party. Suddenly, in Sasuke's senses, it was like winter. He can feel that the other party is not joking. If he doesn't agree, this person will definitely kill him. Chapter 422. In the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, Naruto was arranging the surgeries for Gunny and the other two. Gunny was the first to receive the transplant. "Are you ready? If you can't, we can switch to small Gunny and big Gunny." Naruto pushed Gunny into the operating room. However, when the door of the operating room slammed shut, Gunny, who was lying on the bed, began to tremble in fear. Yes, it was as if he was suddenly scared. When he was outside, Gunny had a brave look on his face. However, after entering the operating room, he seemed to have changed into a different person. Perhaps He did not want to embarrass himself in front of the two sisters? Naruto, do I really have to cut a section higher? Gunny's face turned pale. Naruto comforted him, don't worry, it's just a small section. I'll also block the nerve conduction below your waist. That way, you won't feel any pain. If the surgery goes smoothly, it'll be over in 15 minutes. Naruto gave Gunny a big smile. In the sealed space of 9 tails, Little Nine heard Naruto's words and complained, 15 minutes is the time needed to reattach the pig limb yesterday, right? Naruto ignored Little Nine's complaint. He then cut off the mental link with 9 tails. I'll give you 1 more minute to calm down. After you've made your decision, I'll unseal your leg for the surgery. Gunny was stunned. Her leg. Can I have a look at my leg? Naruto took out 2 scrolls. On the scrolls were the words Gunny's right leg and Gunny's left leg. There were also words such as expiration date and failure to pass inspection. Your leg is here. However, you can't open it now. Once you open it, you'll have to perform the surgery immediately. Make your decision. Gunny gritted her teeth and finally nodded. All right. Let's begin. Although her words were impassioned, Gunny turned on her vibration mode and continued to tremble. Naruto activated the rune array on the bed. The sensory barrier began to scan. Naruto's mental power connected with the sensory barrier on the bed. A dynamic 3D perspective appeared in Naruto's eyes. The breathing of the lungs, the acceleration of the heartbeat, the flow of the blood, the contraction of the cells, from the inside out, every single strand of hair could be clearly seen. Can't count how many hairs a person has? The perception enchantment scanned a person's hair, and no matter how long each hair was, it wouldn't fall off. System notification, medical panel authorization approved. System notification, medical panel system activated. The medical panel opened, and Gurney's projection and body data were displayed in graphical form. At the same time, there was also a physical health index scan. Naruto opened the function panel and activated the interception function of the nervous system. System notification, nerve interception function activated 10%, 20%, system notification. Encountered host's mental resistance. Nerve interception function is blocked. Naruto comforted her. Relax, don't resist. Gurney bit his lip and nodded obediently, but there was no change in the data. He was still extremely nervous. Come, breathe in with me. Exhale. Gurney followed suit. There was a slight change in the data, but it was very weak. Normal communication had little effect, so he could only. 3 strands of red hair on Naruto's head floated over and aimed at 3 acupuncture points on Gurney's body. This was the disguised application of Hyuga Taijutsu. Gurney's body stiffened, and he fell limp. The data showed that it was like a waterfall that suddenly fell. The effect was outstanding. Gurney stared at Naruto with wide eyes, as if asking him what he had done to him. Naruto gave him a gentle smile. Then, he took out a mask and put it on. At this time, Sakura Haruno suddenly contacted Naruto. Naruto-kun. The second Naruto is going to kill Sasuke-kun. Hurry up and stop him. Naruto's expression didn't change. Oh, I know. Sakura Haruno was stunned. Then you're just going to watch the second Naruto kill Sasuke-kun? Naruto replied, Tobirama is very gentle. Well, I have to operate on Gurney, so I can't talk to you anymore. With that, Naruto cut off the call. Then, he switched the ID card's call mode to reject the call. Naruto was aware of the second Naruto's decision. And regarding this matter, Naruto and Tobirama had a long talk through the night. From the perspective of combat power, a ninja must be good at what they are good at. The Uchiha clan is good at genjutsu, so the right path is to use it to the extreme. However, this is only from the perspective of combat power. Analyzing the Uchiha clan's dojutsu. The essence of dojutsu is the change of spiritual force. The qualitative change of spiritual force leads to the change of dojutsu. 1 tomo, 2 tomo, 3 tomo, and even mangekyo. The strength of spiritual force is determined by a person's willpower. In other words, a person's persistence or extreme degree. For example, the Uchiha clan can use dojutsu when witnessing the death of a loved one. At the moment of witnessing the death of a loved one, spiritual force will be unprecedentedly condensed, and emotions will also erupt at this moment. This leads to a qualitative change of spiritual force. But in the discussion between Naruto and Tobirama, this way of opening dojutsu is not the right way. If negative emotions such as fear and hatred are the key to causing a qualitative change of spiritual force, then a person's spiritual force and personality will be affected by negative emotions. According to Tobirama's experience with the Uchiha clan, just 1 tomo to 3 tomo is enough to turn an Uchiha with strong willpower into an extreme madman. So, Tobirama's original words were that Sasuke is not allowed to continue to use these eyes if he doesn't have enough capacity to bear the Sharingan. It will not only destroy others, but also destroy oneself. The result is only blindness and becoming a cripple. He will not allow his apprentice to be a cripple. Oh, this master and apprentice. I'm really looking forward to what will happen. Naruto muttered in his heart. Originally, Naruto planned to transplant Hashirama's cells into Sasuke's body, but now, he can only wait and see. The seal scroll was unlocked, and Gurney's right leg appeared on the operating table. It was a leg that was still placed flat in the incubator. It was very long, very straight, and very white. The moment the long leg appeared, Gurney's gaze shifted from Naruto's face to the leg. A super beautiful leg. Is this my leg? For a moment, the trace of fear in the bottom of Gurney's heart disappeared. The operation began. Chakra's scalpel condensed in his hand, and with one cut, Gurney's long and dead leg was cut off. Under Chakra's control, no blood flowed out. Then the culture tank opened, and Naruto's chakra wrapped around Gurney's arm and floated over. The scalpel went down again. Under the perception enchantment, Naruto began to control Chakra's line to connect bones, nerves, and blood vessels. His movements were smooth, even smoother than yesterday's operation. 5 minutes later, the leg was connected. Then the operation on the left leg began. At the same time, in the arena, Sasuke used all his strength to endure the pain of his dislocated arm and roared, "Even if I die, I will not give up on these eyes." For a moment, Sasuke's spiritual power skyrocketed, and Chakra's blood boiled, and it was about to break through the acupuncture points in his body. Chapter 423. Sasuke's spiritual power was highly concentrated under the pressure of Tobirama. His will broke through again at this moment. At the same time, Chakra was affected by the spiritual power and entered berserk mode. It rushed to the blocked acupoints with all its strength. Variable? Tobirama looked indifferent. He wanted to kill Sasuke directly now. That was his original intention. He was too lazy to educate people who disobeyed him. Only his brother would do that kind of troublesome thing. But he also promised Naruto not to kill Sasuke. The kunai in his hand turned, and Tobirama hit Sasuke's lower abdomen with the kunai. Boom! It hit the vital point. The human body's midline is the most fragile part of the human body. Sasuke's lower abdomen was hit hard, and the muscles of his body contracted violently. At this moment, his lungs couldn't breathe because of the muscle abnormality. The momentum of the whole person was extinguished, and the gathered will was also scattered. Tobirama didn't stop. He stepped forward and pressed his hand on Sasuke's calf, palm against the calf. Lift the palm. From the bottom to the top, the kneading force from the palm directly lifted Sasuke's body. At the moment when Sasuke's body was in the air, Tobirama once again greeted the 18 acupoints of Sasuke's abdomen. The technique was the Hyuga clan's Taijutsu Bagua Palm. The 18 acupoints of Sasuke's abdomen were sealed again, and the restless chakra finally calmed down. Plop! Sasuke's body was thrown to the ground like a broken sack. His 2 arms were already dislocated, so they were flipped over at an extremely strange angle and fell to his side. Dialect, hang at will. His shoulders were also swollen. Naruto took out a scroll and walked towards Sasuke with a blank expression. You don't agree? It's not up to you. Sasuke lay on the ground for a long time before he breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing Tobirama covering his face with the scroll, he suddenly felt uneasy. He shouted, "What are you doing?" Tobirama calmly replied, "My original intention was to dig out your eyes and replace them with ordinary eyes. But Naruto said that he hasn't done an eye removal surgery before. He's afraid that you'll go blind. So I had to take a step back. I sealed your Sharingan." After saying that, Tobirama directly dislocated Sasuke's chin that was about to bite the scroll. Once again, Sasuke's neck stiffened and couldn't move. After that, he calmly took out a small bottle of blood and placed it on the scroll. His hands formed a seal, and the glyph array was activated. This jutsu is a sealing technique I developed based on the Hyuga clan's caged bird. Originally, I wanted to brand the Uchiha clan, but that proposal was rejected by my brother. If you had listened to me at that time, your Uchiha clan wouldn't have been exterminated. After this sentence, the speed of Tobirama's hand seals increased rapidly. Seal. The cursed seal extended from the scroll to Sasuke's forehead, around his eyes, and spread out like a spider web. For a moment, Sasuke felt his vision blurring. His eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. Sasuke struggled for 10 seconds. But the more he persisted, the more sleepy he became. Finally, after 13 seconds, he couldn't hold on anymore and closed his eyes and fell asleep. After doing this, Tobirama lifted the system's call blocking state. System prompt: you have 68 call reminders blocked. 68 calls? Tobirama was stunned. He clicked on the list and then saw a row of Sakura Haruno neatly lined up in a row. Sakura, that girl. Tobirama glanced at Sasuke on the ground and said with a sarcastic tone, "Of all the people she likes the Uchiha clan guy? It's another tragedy." There was a sense of melancholy in this sentence. He didn't know if it touched some bad memories deep in his memory. At the same time, Guni's operation was also completed. The operation was very successful. The bones, tendons, nervous system, and even the skin healed very well. And there was no rejection. However, it would take at least another month for him to truly use his legs. This was estimated based on the strong recovery ability of a ninja. If it was an ordinary person, it would take at least 3 months or even longer. Congratulations, the operation was more successful than expected. Naruto smiled happily. Giving Gurney and the other 2 girls real arms was also one of the things on his mind. Gurney's eyes were wide open as he stared at his own legs. They were beautiful, straight, slender, and smooth. His skin was so fair that it looked as if it was glowing. There were also small feet, smooth instep, and clear ankles. Everything was like a work of art. It was so beautiful that it made people forget to breathe. But the problem was that she couldn't feel her legs. Her heart was uneasy because of this. Really? But I can't feel the existence of my legs? Naruto smiled and said, "Of course you can't feel them." Naruto raised his hand and pointed at the metal chain around the base of Guni's legs. "Your legs are very fragile because they have just been reattached. In order to prevent your disobedience from affecting the healing of the wounds, I set up a mental barrier here." Listening to Naruto's explanation, Guru finally put down the heavy stone in his heart. When she came back to her senses, she finally noticed something else. Naruto's eyes were looking at that part of her body. She couldn't help but blush and said timidly, Can you stop looking?" Naruto was stunned and blinked. Only then did he notice that Guni was still naked, and her little butt was right in front of him. So, he quickly turned his head and explained, "A doctor has the heart of a parent. My eyes are absolutely not colored." Seeing Naruto suddenly panic, Guni burst out laughing. "If it's Naruto, then it's okay to look. Besides, I've already touched it." "You've already touched it?" Naruto's face turned even redder. Because he was nervous just now, he didn't think too much. He quickly pulled out a white sheet to cover that part of her body. Then he changed the topic and said, "Your surgery is done. It's time for the next person." Guni looked at Naruto's side profile and pursed her lips into a smile. Then, she said solemnly, "Naruto, thank you." It was rare to see such a docile Guni. Naruto suddenly felt embarrassed for a moment. He didn't know where to put his hands. He turned his head away and scratched his head awkwardly. It's nothing. I promised you that I'll let you have a real. The moment Naruto turned his head, Guni's face suddenly moved closer, and a wisp of her lips covered his. It was a little cold and wet. Their lips touched and parted. Guni retracted her head and said timidly, "This is to thank you. You don't have to take responsibility." Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Naruto's mind went blank. He was so stunned that he didn't know anything. Guni pulled the corner of Naruto's hand. "Push me out." Naruto turned his head around in a daze. Then, he pushed Guni out of the operating theater like a robot. The second surgery was on little Guni. Little Guni had an arm and a leg that needed a transplant. The surgery began. Naruto was still in a daze. Guni kissed him. Speaking of which, this was the second time he was kissed. The first time was by Fenghua Xiao Shui. However, Fenghua Xiao Shui kissed him on the cheek. Guni was bolder than Fenghua Xiao Shui and kissed him on the lips. So, did that mean that Guni liked him? What should he do if Guni liked him? Should he continue to play dumb? Sigh. It was troublesome to be too outstanding. While he was thinking, Naruto started the surgery. Little Guni exclaimed, "Wait. Big brother Naruto, are you going to put my leg on my arm?" Naruto came back to his senses. That was right. He was holding Guni's leg and trying to put it on Guni's arm. Fortunately, the arm and leg were not cut open. It was extremely awkward, wasn't it? Chapter 424. Sasuke's eyes were sealed, and Naruto felt it was a pity. According to the development of the original world, although Sasuke was confused for a while, he eventually got out of hatred and found what he wanted to protect in his heart. But the price he paid was also quite expensive. His beloved brother died in his own hands. Now, it should be different, right? You decided to seal his eyes like this? In a small conference room, Naruto and Tobirama sat together. Tobirama's attitude was very firm. He is not worthy of these eyes now. Tobirama thought of a person and added, unless he can grow up to be like Mirror, he is worthy of this power. Mirror. Uchiha Mirror. Naidame Naruto's former close friend, and the only person in the Uchiha clan that Naidame Naruto recognized. Naruto nodded. In fact, his heart was a little guilty. In the face of such a righteous and upright Tobirama, Naruto was a little ashamed of himself. In terms of consciousness, Naruto is a more selfish person. He will help his relatives and not help reason. The layout of his heart really hasn't reached the point of caring for the world. What's more embarrassing is, Tobirama misunderstood that he wanted to unify the world and wanted to assist him. He didn't know what would happen if Tobirama knew what he was thinking. Sasuke, what's next? How are you going to train him? Well, I'm just curious. After all, you are his teacher now, I won't intervene. Tobirama picked up the teacup on the table. The body of the Edo Tensei can't really absorb the nutrition of food. However, the sense of taste still exists, so Tobirama will taste tea or eat ice cream from time to time. Then the tea or ice cream in the stomach will be vaporized and expelled from the body, which is a waste to some extent. I will let him go to the mercenary academy like others. I will keep an eye on him. There was a trace of hesitation and complexity in Tobirama's eyes, and after a while, he said with melancholy, in the end, he is the last descendant of the Uchiha clan. If possible, I don't want the Uchiha clan to disappear from this world, otherwise I won't have the face to see the mirror again. Naruto gulped down a cup of hot tea. He could see that Tobirama didn't say anything, but he still cared about the Uchiha clan. He was also the tsundere submissive mentioned earlier. Going to the mercenary academy is also a good choice. After all, I can learn new techniques there. For example, The last time we studied the combination of the Hyuga clan's taijutsu and perception barrier. I used it when I operated on Gurney and the others, and the effect was very good. Naidame Naruto's eyes lit up. I also think it's very useful. I used that trick to beat Sasuke. If I didn't have it, it would have been troublesome to deal with the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. The two looked at each other and smiled, and at the same time, their faces showed a wicked expression. Tobirama suddenly thought of something. Last time you proposed to integrate the chakra decomposition formation and the Edo Tensei, do you have any progress on your side? The integration of the chakra decomposition formation and the Edo Tensei body is a topic that both Tobirama and Naruto are more concerned about. For a long time, the Edo Tensei body has been a disposable battery that can't be recharged. After one use, it's useless. If it can be recharged, it will be a great thing. After all, even the enemy's life is a life. It's really a waste to use it like this. Also, after the Snow Country reached a cooperative relationship with several major countries, the number of ninjas and mercenaries invading the Snow Country is getting fewer and fewer. If one day no enemy dares to come to the Snow Country again, then it won't be so easy to find the Edo Tensei body. I've been thinking about this matter, but the missing algorithm of the chakra decomposition formation is the biggest obstacle. One more thing, the chakra decomposition formation needs to be on the body of a living person to succeed, and it's not compatible with the body of the Edo Tensei. Tobirama nodded. If only brother and sister-in-law were here, she must have a way to solve it. Then the other two methods are also problems. The other two methods, one is to extract the soul of the Edo Tensei and transfer it to the body of a living person. The other is to artificially make a container that can accommodate the Edo Tensei. The former is not compatible with the body of the living because of the difference between the soul after death and the soul of the living. The latter lacks a carrier that can carry the soul. In short, solving the defects of the Edo Tensei is very difficult. Resurrecting the dead is challenging the authority of God. It's normal that it's difficult. Naruto comforted him casually. Tobirama nodded in agreement. One more thing. I think it's necessary to implement the proposal I made last time. Tobirama has proposals every day, and Naruto really didn't know which one it was, so he could only ask, which proposal? Tobirama said seriously, it's about the profession of ninja. The essence of chakra is to extract the vitality and spiritual power in the body, so the life of a ninja is shorter than that of ordinary people. So I want to abolish the profession of ninja. Can't the spiritual network provide chakra? In this case, after the students learn how to extract chakra and use chakra, the students are prohibited from using their own chakra in battle. Let the students use chakra provided by the Great Snow Mountain. This is a proposal. Naruto also thinks it's good. It's just that there is a problem to solve at present. Because of the heterogeneous spiritual power of the chakra synthesized by the Great Snow Mountain, the conversion efficiency of chakra is low when the recipient uses it to change the nature of chakra. The solution has been thought of, that is, to transport the chakra of the Great Snow Mountain to the client, and then decompose chakra into pure vitality, so that the students can use their own spiritual power to perfectly combine with this vitality. In the end, it's the bottleneck of chakra decomposition technology. This proposal is very good, but it has to wait until the bottleneck of chakra decomposition technology is solved. Tobirama scratched his head embarrassedly. I'm impatient. But as long as I think that once this new profession rises, the power will be completely in our hands, my heart can't calm down. At that time, we can completely control the war. The power will never be abused again. What a beautiful day it will be. The more Tobirama said, the more excited he became. Naruto couldn't help but pour a basin of cold water. But there is one thing that needs to be solved first, that is, what method did Orochimaru use to shield the bottom link of the spiritual network? If this problem is not solved, then the power we control will be a joke. The effect of this basin of cold water was extremely good. The surging thousand hands was immediately calmed down amidst the sizzling steam. This problem is really serious. But after a moment of hesitation, Tobirama's eyes once again ignited with the flame of excitement. But, boss, what kind of name should we give to the new profession? Boss? Is Tobirama going to stand side by side with Big Fatty? But in the end, Tobirama is indeed very close to Big Fatty recently. The name. Let's think about it later. Tobirama nodded seriously. This is destined to be recorded in the history books, and it is indeed necessary to be cautious. Is it really so great? Naruto didn't think so much. After the long-winded Tobirama left, Naruto sat alone in the conference room. It has been a month since Guni kissed him. During this time, Guni has become the headache-inducing and lazy girl of the past. She really didn't mention the day when she took the initiative to kiss Naruto. It seems that there is no follow-up to that matter. As Guni said, she just wanted to kiss him, and she didn't need to take responsibility. Naruto-kun? I just saw Naidame Naruto, Sama leave. Hinata walked into the room. Naruto looked at Hinata seriously. Hinata. There is something I think I should tell you. Hinata came to Naruto's side, nodded, and listened. Chapter 425. Hinata, that. Naruto looked at Hinata, who was right in front of him. Hinata's eyes looked a little ethereal. But after a few more glances, one would find that ethereal beauty. It was like the deep sky, pure and flawless. That. Naruto decided to tell Hinata about the kiss. Otherwise, he would feel like he had betrayed Hinata. But at this moment, Naruto's stomach rumbled. Hinata blinked cutely and looked down at Naruto's stomach. She covered her mouth with her little fist and laughed. Naruto-kun is hungry, right? Hinata will go and cook for Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded blankly. Ah, I'm hungry. Seeing Hinata run out of the room, Naruto was like a deflated balloon. He suddenly felt empty and slumped on the sofa. He still didn't say it. Hinata had a very good relationship with the girls. If he said it, it would be very awkward, right? If Hinata told him that Sasuke kissed her, what would the result be? Maybe he would be cut down with a knife, or maybe he would be turned into a sky lantern. In Nine-Tails' sealed space, Little Nine played with his tail and asked, "What did you want to say to that girl?" "I felt that you were very nervous. It definitely wasn't as simple as eating." Naruto rolled his eyes. He was glad that he had cut off the mental link with Nine-Tails that day. Otherwise, with Nine-Tails' big mouth, who knew what would happen? Naruto walked out of the meeting room and met 01, who was standing at the door. "What's the matter? Why didn't you come in?" 01's broken arm had been fitted with a prosthetic, and he looked no different from a normal person. 007, is there still no news from the guild master? These past few days, I've been a little worried. I'm afraid that something bad has happened to them. And, the assassination mission at the underground market. Naruto had been trying his best to find out about the Clown Emperor. For this reason, Naruto even revealed his identity as 07 to Mo Ting, the Edo Tensei. However, the Clown Emperor's news was cut off in the Fire Nation. It was as if he had evaporated in the Fire Country. Don't let your imagination run wild. You're probably worried about Little Gunny and the others. That's why you're panicking. That was not entirely wrong. As someone who had also lost an arm, 01 had been paying close attention to the recovery of Gurney and the others' limbs. Furthermore, 01's limbs had also begun to grow. If there were no accidents, 01 would be able to get rid of his disability like Gurney in 3 months' time. After successfully changing the topic, Naruto brought Zero to the 3 girls for a final examination. At the same time, he contacted the Edo Reincarnations Inc. through the mental network. Is there still no news about the Clown Emperor? After learning that Naruto was 007, Mo Ting didn't show much expression. She just asked if she could be truly resurrected. Naruto's answer was, yes, it's just a matter of time. Then Mo Ting promised to continue following Naruto, but added a condition. After the success of this technology, one more person can be resurrected, the boy who died because of the guildmaster. Naruto agreed. In the spiritual network, Mo Ting replied, "The latest news is that they have been traced to a small town near the Woodleaf Ninja Village. They ate ramen in that town. I suspect that they may have entered the Wood Leaf Village. Entered the Wood Leaf Village? If that's the case, there's only one possibility, that is, someone has guessed or learned of his identity. Then, when was he exposed? This thought only appeared for a moment, and then it was extinguished by Naruto. It doesn't matter if he was discovered or not, the important thing is to find these silly girls who ate the bear's heart and leopard's courage. It's just that, if he continues to wait for the Wood Leaf Village to convene Chunin's exam, where should he go first? Logically speaking, it's naturally the most appropriate time to go when Chunin's exam is held. But after a long time, the guild master and the others may really have problems. After all, the guild master and the others have seen him and Hinata's true faces. If this is known by the people in the Wood Leaf Village. No, if they really went to the Wood Leaf Village, there's no news for so long, the result is obviously that the Wood Leaf Village already knows. After all, with the Wood Leaf Village's interrogation methods, the strength of a person's logical thinking is directly related to the brain's computational ability. And Naruto's brain is obviously already extraordinary. In just a moment, he made a lot of guesses. Based on the fact that the Wood Leaf Village already knows about him, what will the Wood Leaf Village do? Naruto's footsteps stopped. He asked Ink through the spiritual network, I remember. The information you investigated yesterday only reached the Fire Country, then the information was cut off. Ink didn't understand the meaning in Naruto's words and directly replied, This morning, 2 drunkards were talking about women on the road, one of them was talking about a woman wearing a red trench coat. I listened for a while at the side, the image is very similar to that of the Clown Emperor's president. So I followed the clues and found the wine shop that the drunkards were talking about, then I collected information along the way and found this small town at the edge of the Wood Leaf Village. Drunkards encountered on the street? The corners of Naruto's mouth curled up slightly, a playful smile on his face. Ink, activate the perception barrier to the maximum in an instant, I will give you points. At the same time, a system notification sounded in Ink's ears. System notification, received 500 points. System notification, the points are valid for 1 hour. Ink was shocked and thought of a possibility. You mean, I've been discovered? This information is, Naruto calmly replied, do as I say. Ink didn't ask any more questions. He adjusted the perception barrier's power to the maximum on the control panel. The client perception barrier's range is 50 kilometers. In an instant, with Ink as the center, the perception barrier rapidly expanded in a spherical shape, sweeping through the entire town in the blink of an eye. System notification, Chakra's fluctuations have been detected. System notification, beginning to mark Chakra's fluctuations location. System notification, generating scanned map. In 3 seconds, a scanned map of 50 kilometers was drawn in front of Ink. There were a total of 5 Chakra's locations in the scanned map. 3 of them were lurking around Ink. Moreover, these people were wearing typical Umbu ninja attire. The results of the scan were sent to Naruto, and Naruto's face brightened. You can leave now, find a hidden place and directly teleport away. He hung up. Naruto took a deep breath. Although he didn't know how Wood Leaf's people had locked onto Ink, based on the current situation. Wood Leaf was trying to lure him to Wood Leaf. Then who was it that wanted him so badly? Sister Zero, let me tell you a piece of good news. I found the president and the others. Zero was pleasantly surprised. Really? That's great. Where are they? Naruto grinned. I'll tell you when I get them back. Zero was a bit hesitant. Are they in danger? Naruto shook his head. No, they're much safer than what I'm worried about. Chapter 426. Land of Fire, Wood Leaf Ninja Village, Naruto Building, Naruto's office. 3 Umbu ninja were waiting in front of Naruto's desk. Kakashi listened to the news brought back by the 3 and was thinking. The news has been released, and now it's up to Naruto's choice. So, what will Naruto choose? Will he ignore the news, or, if Naruto is still the Naruto he knew, then he definitely won't ignore this news. Kakashi waved the 3 Umbu ninjas back, and at this time, Jiraiya walked in. Jiraiya glanced at the direction where the Umbu ninjas left and said, "If Naruto comes back, how do you plan to deal with Naruto?" This question is also the problem that Kakashi has been having a headache. Well, let's catch him first. The vague answer made Jiraiya frown. Keep him locked up, and then drag him out when Konoha needs him to make the best use of him? Until he dies, and then choose the next human pillar force? Kakashi replied, "No. But he must be punished for what he did." Jiraiya asked, "Then how do you plan to punish him?" Kakashi brought back the previous words, "Let's catch him first." It seems that he didn't like being questioned. Kakashi asked, "Then do you have a better idea?" Jiraiya turned his head and looked out the window. No. Kakashi rolled his eyes, and the two of them looked out of the window in silence. At the same time, in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory, Naruto was checking little Gunny's body. There is no problem at all, as long as you don't do strenuous exercise, just living a normal life will not affect the interface. Little Gunny was lying on the bed with a joyful look. Really? Then, that ring can be removed today, right? Naruto raised his hand and pressed on the metal ring. The seal was triggered, and the metal ring was loosened. Then, she was pleasantly surprised to find that she could feel her newly reattached limbs. Little Gunny tried to raise his hand, but because his muscles had yet to be trained, his movements were not very nimble. In fact, it was a little shaky, but he managed to raise his hand. Little Gunny was so excited that he started crying. "Let me do it. Take off the metal bracelets on my body." Seeing that little Gunny's hand could move, Gunny could not wait any longer. Naruto pressed his hand on Gunny's knee. A talisman thread extended to the two metal rings at the base of Gunny's thigh, and the metal rings loosened. Gunny's toes twitched. Next was Big Gunny. The amputated limb transplant surgery of the three patients came to a perfect end. "Big brother Naruto, do you still remember that we prepared a surprise for you?" Little Gunny's face was already covered in tears. He cried and cried, then laughed and cried again. She was sobbing and looked very painful. Naruto replied, "I remember. I've been looking forward to it, so I healed you guys as quickly as possible." Little Gunny was amused by Naruto's words, but his tears were still on his face. 01 handed over a tissue to wipe Little Gunny's tears. Little Gunny looked at his two sisters. The three of them exchanged glances and whispered to each other mysteriously. Little Gunny asked, "Who's going to demonstrate? I can't wear that thing yet." Big Gunny looked at Gunny and said, "Let her do it. Can't you see that her tail is wagging?" Gunny was very happy, and his face was especially bright. He promised, "Leave it to me." With that, Gunny left the room. The muscles of his newly reattached feet were still very weak, but with chakra around, it was not a problem. Naruto touched his nose and probed, "What are you guys doing? Why do I feel like you're all crazy?" Little Gunny wiped his tears and wiped his nose. "When Big Brother Naruto wasn't back, we came up with something." Then, she saw Big Fatty staring at her. She added, "Okay, Big Brother also participated." Seeing that he was mentioned, Big Fatty finally nodded in satisfaction. "I'm back." Along with the dull sound of metal hitting the ground, a human-shaped metal armor appeared in front of Naruto. It was covered in pure metal without any paint layer. Is this a metal armor? The metal armor in front of him was much fatter than Iron Man. It was a little bloated, but from the flexibility of its movements, it was obvious that its basic technology was close to maturity. "You guys actually came up with this thing when I wasn't around. Amazing. Where's the data? Let me see." Gunny controlled the armor and put his hands on his waist. "Come and fight with me. The data will be more direct if you see it yourself." "Want to fight?" Naruto was eager to try, but he was not as careless as Gunny. Gunny's body was still recuperating, and he could not even do strenuous exercise, let alone fight. If you really want to fight, wait for 2 months. You can't fight right now." Clack. The metal buckle was undone, and Gunny's face was revealed from the armor. He begged, It's okay, we can just play a little. Naruto raised his hand and knocked on Gunny's armor. He shook his head seriously and said, "Little Gunny, did you use your ability to draw this metal?" "And it didn't use any precious metal. It can't even take a punch from me." Gunny did not believe him. "You're lying. This metal is hard." Before he could finish, Naruto gestured for him to look at the spot where Naruto had knocked. There was a handprint there. Gunny was not the only one who was shocked. Everyone was shocked. 01 pressed his hand on Gunny's armor. "It's hard. Use force." He could not even press it, let alone make a handprint. 01, your body. Naruto thought for a moment and pulled out a kunai from the ninja backpack on 01's waist. Naruto did not move. The only thing that moved was his red hair that had a metallic luster. Naruto's hair brushed past the kunai, and it was cut open like a piece of paper. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise. 01 guessed, "Did you inject chakra into your hair? That's not difficult." Naruto smiled bitterly. "Then I'll put chakra away. You can try again." Naruto put chakra away. His hair, which originally reached his buttocks, suddenly grew long and fell to the ground. Then, the metal plate on the ground was cut open by his naturally falling hair. Not a single strand of hair floated on the ground. It was still straight down for who knows how many meters. "The chakra I infuse into my hair is used to shorten it. Now, you can try again. Don't use your hands, or I'll cut your hands off." The girls found a pair of scissors and cut the hair. The hair was fine, but the scissors were cut. "Naruto Onii-san. You're so sick." "Naruto." Was that a compliment? However, Naruto had no choice. His body had already mutated after fusing with Nine Tails chakra. Gunny pouted. "Then isn't this thing that we developed completely useless? It can't help you at all." Naruto shook his head and said with certainty, "The thing you developed is very useful." Gunny did not believe him. "What's the use? You don't need it at all." Naruto smiled. "But you can wear it. With this outfit, I can take you to space next time." Chapter 427. After seeing how crazy Naruto was, Gunny finally gave up the idea of challenging Naruto. At the same time, the technical data of the metal suit was also sent to Naruto in the form of a document. The data showed the control technology of the metal suit used the regional spiritual network. To put it simply, it was a spiritual connection and the data processing function of the superbrain. The metal suit itself was an extension of the artificial limb technology. Naruto nodded. Most of the technology itself was ready-made. The most troublesome part was the coding of the control system, and this part was done by Defei. The other part was the construction of the exoskeleton. This part was designed based on the drawings drawn by Naruto in the past and combined with the actual situation. "Don't look at it. It's actually nothing. It's not that great of a research." Gunny, who was eager to show off his treasures, blushed. Naruto shook his head. "Although it's not as powerful as expected in actual combat, it can't erase its value. Moreover, there are still many things that can be optimized." Gunny pouted. "How to optimize it?" Naruto organized his words slightly, and then spoke out his idea. "First of all, in terms of movement, you can try to install rollers on the feet. This way, you can achieve high-speed movement on flat ground. You can make some design on the rollers, such as spikes. They can adapt to snow and ice. In addition, remember last time I said that you can add a connected artificial limb skeleton to the metal suit. With the artificial limb skeleton, you can complete the unmanned operation. Also, if you can connect it to the spiritual network, it's extremely suitable for reconnaissance. Coupled with summoning technique and a contract with the metal suit, it's also very easy to recycle." Some of these words were also said by Naruto when he first proposed the metal suit project. But last time, it was just a theory on paper, and this time, it will soon become a reality. The depressed girls were once again stimulated by Naruto. Little Gunny's eyes lit up. Then let's continue the research? Guni nodded. Let's continue. Not far away, Tobirama's face was serious. After the girls and Naruto finished talking, Tobirama asked, "Since it can be remotely controlled, then ordinary people can also control this weapon, right?" Little Guni replied, "In theory, it's possible, but ordinary people's adaptability is not as good as ninjas, and the control will be greatly reduced." Tobirama asked, "What about after a long time of training?" Little Guni didn't know why Tobirama was so she replied unhappily, "That's right, a pig can climb a tree." "A pig can climb a tree?" Naruto, who was watching the fun, thought seriously. But Tobirama didn't give Naruto time to think. Boss, I strongly suggest you to add the method of how to control the controls, how to operate to control of the mercenaries. What? Well, Tobirama can always make good suggestions in order to complete the so-called world hegemony. Naruto replied, "Yes, don't you want to be a teacher?" "Come on, you can be a robot teacher in the future no matter what, you are a researcher, haha." Naruto's words coaxed Little Guni. Little Guni, who was unhappy because he didn't help Naruto, was happy again. "Okay. It's a deal." Then Tobirama said again, "I have another idea." Naruto said, "If you have an idea, just say it." Tobirama pondered for a moment and seemed to have made a decision. "You said that the person called Sasori can control all kinds of puppets with only one meat core, so can it also be added to this kind of armor?" This, Naruto pondered. The fusion of flesh and armor. Is it possible to do an EVA? But is it possible to animate the metal suit? If it's really possible, it seems that it can accommodate souls that can make up for the shortcomings of the Edo Tensei. This proposal is a bit interesting. In fact, Naruto also thought about it at the beginning. But at that time, he didn't think that he could get the method to make a puppet core. This idea can be developed, but only as an extension of the metal suit, and it will be studied separately. The name of the project. Let's call it Living Mecha. Tobirama, you can be the person in charge. By the way, have you learned all the knowledge of curses? Even if you didn't learn it, there should be no problem with the help of the super brain system. Tobirama replied seriously. There is no problem with curses, but other aspects. Tobirama looked at the metal suit with a confused face. Naruto smiled. Since it's an extension of the metal suit, there is no need to study it by yourself. You can directly use the research results of Guni and the others. In other words, you can work together to complete it. Is there a problem? Tobirama was about to nod, but suddenly he saw a person who was sneaking away and suggested, "Since it involves living creatures, I think it is necessary to let Yakushi Kabuto participate." The person who was sneaking away was Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto was about to refuse, but Naruto spoke first. "Well, you are the person in charge of the project. You can take care of this. If there is anything I can help with, you can ask me." Refuse again? Boss said he wanted to participate, but he still couldn't help it. Wait. Boss said I can even ask boss for help? Yakushi Kabuto suddenly raised his hand. Boss, I have something I need you to do. Naruto nodded. Say it. Yakushi Kabuto said directly. Boss, can you come to my lab? I want to study your body again. Huh? Yakushi Kabuto's lab? Study the body? Naruto's face darkened. You don't want to cut me into pieces, do you? Yakushi Kabuto shook his head. No. Give me a strand of your hair, fingernail, blood, cells. Yakushi Kabuto was about to say something when he saw Naruto's expression. He immediately shut up. Well, that's enough for now. Naruto rolled his eyes. With a flip of his hand, Kusunagi's sword appeared in his hand. Then he cut one of the hairs. Ding! There was a sound of metal hitting metal. But he still cut off a section. After the hair was cut off, the short hair seemed to have a life of its own. It glowed red and repaired itself. It began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it grew to the same length as the rest of the hair. Take the hair first, I'll give you the rest later. Several people looked at the scene in front of them in amazement. Tobirama spoke first. Boss, do you want to try to let others use the same method to devour Nine Tails chakra? What is this for? To create a super soldier? But it seems quite interesting. Well, let's find someone from the Snowy Mountains death row to try. In the sealed space of Nine Tails, Xiao Jiu's face darkened. I haven't agreed yet. And that guy called Tobirama. I'll remember it. Don't let me find a chance. Otherwise, I'll kill him. Naruto comforted him. It's just a small test. Besides, he's already dead. Nine Tails. Chapter 428. In the land of demons, at the foot of a remote mountain, a funeral was being held. It was a very simple funeral, and only 2 people attended the funeral. If you want to add one more member, there was also a pig. Digging a hole, burying people, and erecting a monument. Simple things were done at an extremely fast speed. It was still snowing in the sky at this time. It was snowing heavily, but it was very quiet. Soon, the newly erected grave was covered tightly. The monument in front of the grave was a wooden monument. There were no carvings on the wooden monument, and there were no inscriptions. It was blank. The snow was heavier, and the person whose body was hidden in a black cloak bowed and was about to leave. At this time, the person who had been hesitating finally spoke. Uncle said to bury his ashes together. The person in front didn't pay attention to the person behind and just sped up. The person behind picked up the piglet who was still shivering in cotton clothes. The worry between his eyebrows deepened. He made up his mind and shouted, Uncle has forbidden you to resurrect him again. And you agreed. The person in front finally stopped. Looking back, he said with a look of annoyance, The snow is so heavy, why are you so long-winded? Hurry up and go back. As he said, he turned his head again, and his footsteps were faster. However, under the cloak, the hand holding the urn tightened and became more careful. The people buried in the snow were Tsunade and Shizen. Needless to say, the pig who was about to freeze was Tubu. Shizen sighed and ran to catch up. She insisted, You promised Uncle not to resurrect him again. Tsunade's appearance at this time was a man's face, and she replied impatiently in a rough voice, You don't need to remind me of this. Since I promised, I won't do it. Shizen was stunned. The 2 of them walked back home in silence, one in front of the other. It was a stone house with a bonfire. The house wasn't small, about 100 square meters. There was a courtyard and a farmhouse outside. Then you. Shizen looked at the urn in Tsunade's hand and hesitated. Tsunade said unhappily, Can't I keep it? Shizen had talked back to Tsunade many times today, and her courage for this month was all used up. She shrank her neck and hid to the side. Tubu in her arms also shrank his neck. After a long time, the stiff atmosphere eased a lot under the roasting of the fire. Silent Sound quietly asked, Then, are we going to continue living here? Tsunade said unhappily, There's no casino here. What are you doing here? Jingyin said weakly, Promise Uncle that you won't gamble anymore. Tsunade sneered, He's dead. Why should I listen to him? Mute once again looked at the urn worriedly. Outside the window, heavy snow swirled in the air. Only a plop sound could be heard. Half a foot of snow on the roof slid down and smashed into the courtyard. Next year's harvest should be good. Mute looked out of the window and mumbled to herself. Beside him, Tun Tun was comfortably warming up by the fire. It was so comfortable that he kept moaning. At the same time, it was snowing on the Wood Leaf. Outside the Wood Leaf Ninja Village, at the bottom of the frozen river, Naruto was sitting in his self-made igloo, grilling fish. Pure Fire Attribute Chakra Barbecue, 0 row and 0 pollution. Beside Naruto, there was a projection of a dog. It was Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu's big tongue clanged as it stared at the steaming golden grilled fish. Naruto said with annoyance, "Why are you staring so seriously? You can't eat it anyway." Shiba Inu replied seriously, "I'm imagining the taste of it in my mouth." Naruto rolled his eyes and was too lazy to pay attention to this silly dog. After the grilled fish was done, Naruto took a plate and put the grilled fish in it first. He wasn't in a hurry to eat, so he took out an iron pot. He added water, boiled it, and then took out Manda's meat and evenly cut it into several pieces, put it in the pot, and then began to make soup. Naruto's left hand continued to boil the soup with a fireball, while his right hand picked up the fish and began to rub it. Shiba Inu was even more excited, and its eyes were almost shining. Its tail was like a helicopter, and it couldn't stop at all. "Master, that I heard from Yakushi." Shiba Inu's face was full of flattery. Naruto added some seasoning to the fish and continued to rub it. "What did he say?" Shiba Inu licked its dog nose and whispered, "Yakushi said that an existence like me might be able to obtain a physical body." Obtain a physical body? Naruto suddenly understood. No wonder Shiba Inu stared at the fish, it was showing that it wanted meat. Naruto pretended not to know. "What do you want a physical body for? Do you want to make yourself into a dog meat hot pot for me?" Crack. Shiba Inu's tail was broken, and its dog face was stiff with its mouth open. It said timidly, "I'll catch another dog for you and make it into a dog meat hot pot, okay?" "I'll pass." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Catch another dog? Are dogs so realistic now? Since Yakushi said that you can obtain a physical body, then you should ask him for one." "I don't have one here." Shiba Inu then said, "I'll go now." After saying that, it disappeared with a whoosh. Soon, Yakushi called, "Boss, Shiba Inu said that you want me to make a physical body for it?" "How?" Naruto looked at the sky, speechless. This damn dog had learned to tell lies. The dog's intelligence was growing too fast. Or, should he add a dog meat hot pot in the future? Ignore it, let it play in the mud. Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, Yakushi's laboratory. Shiba Inu said proudly, "Hurry up. Boss said to make a physical body for me." Yakushi hung up the phone and waved his hand to disperse the image of Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu wanted to enter Yakushi's laboratory again, but a prompt came, "Experimental grounds, dogs are not allowed to enter." Shiba Inu's dog face was conflicted, and then it turned into Pippi Whale. It tried to enter again, "Open your dog eyes, I'm a whale, not a dog." However, it still didn't have permission. Obviously, Yakushi's settings forbade its identity card, not its appearance. Yakushi hung up the phone. "Boss said to let you play in the mud." The aggressive Pippi Whale turned back into a dog and said in surprise, "You actually went to look for boss?" Yakushi hung up the phone. The silly dog was left alone. How can you bully dogs like this? Outside Woodleaf Ninja Village, at the bottom of the pond. After eating 2 grilled fish and drinking a pot of snake soup, Naruto lay down on his self-made ice bed to rest. Nine Tails, in the sealed space, was impatient. "It's been a whole day, why hasn't anyone passed by yet? You said that Konoha wasn't destroyed, right?" Naruto comforted her, "Be patient, you've only waited for a day and you're already impatient? Last time, in order to enter the Mist Village, I squatted outside for half a month. And it seems that I haven't entered yet. Later, I met Orochimaru. What is Orochimaru doing now?" Several thoughts flashed through Naruto's mind. Naruto's plan this time is the same as the previous 2 times. He will enter Woodleaf with Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Now, it's convenient for Naruto to use Spirit Transformation Jutsu to control people. Nine continued to chase his tail in the cage in boredom. He stopped when he was tired and said to Naruto, "You promised me, after your spirit body leaves, I can move freely." Naruto replied, "You also promised me not to make trouble. If I ask you to come and help me or arrange other tasks, just do it." Nine nodded and said seriously, "You can rest assured. I will be obedient." Not knowing how long it took, there was finally movement in the perception barrier. A team of 4 people stepped into the barrier. The team led by Met K, Hinata Ningji, Lee Lok, and Tion Tion. Was it these few people? Then who is the spirit invader? Chapter 429. Orochimaru's Laboratory. First Naruto was lying flat on an iron bed. Next to first Naruto was a naked male body. Both of them had their eyes closed, and the runes on their beds were connected. Orochimaru stood in front of the 2 beds and carefully examined the runes. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he began to form hand seals and activated an unknown forbidden technique. Immediately after, the runes carved on the iron bed lit up one after another. The first Hokage's body turned into ashes bit by bit, revealing the face of the person inside. It seems that the Edo Tensei Jutsu has been lifted. However, the ashes didn't disappear into the void of space. Instead, they gathered on the person next to him. Soon, as the ashes merged with that person's body, that person turned into first Naruto's appearance. What did you do to me? First Naruto's consciousness returned. He didn't open his eyes, but the process of his memories being scattered and recalled told him that he had died again. No, to be precise, he had been reincarnated by the Edo Tensei again. He had thought that Orochimaru might summon him again when the Edo Tensei's time limit was up. However, his original body clearly still had at least 2 months to live. He didn't agree with such a method of trampling on life. First Naruto slowly opened his eyes. An imposing aura spread out without being angry. At the same time, Chakra responded to the rising anger in her heart and naturally released her aura. It was terrifying, as if Mount Tai was collapsing in front of her, the sky was collapsing, and the earth was collapsing. And it wasn't just a mental attack, even Orochimaru's base was shaking. Dust and stone fragments fell down from the cracks in the ceiling. However, Orochimaru smiled after a short daze. First Naruto also reacted and re-sensed his body. He found that this body had an indescribable sense of familiarity. This is, first Naruto's aura suddenly increased greatly and attacked Orochimaru. Like a bolt of lightning, he instantly appeared in front of Orochimaru. First Naruto felt the aura of his past body from this body. Although it wasn't a complete match, it was enough to bring out most of his strength. Therefore, he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Orochimaru. Orochimaru didn't move. First generation Naruto's fist was crooked in a bizarre manner. Orochimaru punched the wall. The sound of the explosion was like thunder. Orochi's base collapsed once again. After missing the first time, first Naruto attacked again, but once again, his attack flew past Orochimaru. The explosion caused by this blow caused a shockwave to roll out, blasting the falling rocks from the top floor away like a cannonball. All that was left was a deep pit that was more than 10 meters deep. What did you do to me? This was the second time first Naruto asked this question. However, although the 2 sentences were the same, the questions were different. Orochimaru was very calm. Since I can let you regain the power that belongs to you, naturally, I won't let it threaten me. This voice came from Naruto's mind. To be more precise, it was his body. This body had a second will. The scenery before Naruto's eyes changed. His consciousness sank into the spiritual world. Then, he saw Orochimaru. That's right, it was Orochimaru in his body. Orochimaru smiled and said, "This body is formed by the fusion of my cells and your cells. So, I also have a certain amount of control." First generation Naruto's eyebrows relaxed, and he suddenly laughed heartily. "I didn't expect you to be so powerful, ahahaha." Orochimaru calmly replied, "Thank you for the praise." First generation Naruto laughed foolishly for a while, then suddenly stopped. He fell into a great depression and muttered to himself, "I can't even deal with a junior? It seems like my time has really passed." Orochimaru comforted him. "Your strength is unquestionable, otherwise, I wouldn't have revived you." First generation Naruto raised his head. "How can your cells fuse with my cells? Could it be that you are my..." First-generation Naruto seriously stared at Orochimaru's face, as if he was looking for similarities between Orochimaru's face and his own. However, in the end, he found that apart from their long hair and black hair, there were no other similarities. Orochimaru explained, "To be precise, they are White Snake Sage's cells. I fused with White Snake Sage's cells, then fused with White Snake Sage's cells again." First-generation Naruto didn't understand, but showed a look of realization. "Oh, so it's like that." Orochimaru continued to explain, "However, this fusion isn't perfect. Without your will to drive this body can't even move." First-generation Naruto sensed his body again. It was very powerful, but it seemed a bit different from the Edo Tensei's body. For example, his shoulders couldn't turn 360 degrees freely. This body, was it revived with the Edo Tensei? First-generation Naruto raised his doubts. Orochimaru answered without hesitation, "Not exactly. This body can be said to be alive, but it can also be said to be dead. It can be said to be half dead and half alive." First-generation Naruto still didn't understand. However, he nodded seriously. "Oh, so it's like that." At this time, it was Orochimaru's turn to ask, "I've answered your questions, so now it's my turn to ask a question." Third-generation Naruto and fourth-generation Naruto's tempers. How are they? Are they easy to get along with? First-generation Naruto was stunned and subconsciously answered, "Third-generation and fourth-generation? I don't know. Halfway through his words, first-generation Naruto realized the trap of this sentence. However, it was too late to change his words. Orochimaru's face was already smiling like a yellow flower. "Oh, so it's like that, then I understand." Next, let's go to Woodleaf. You haven't gone back for a long time, right? The last time you went there, you were fighting and didn't have time to enjoy the scenery of Woodleaf. First-generation Naruto still wanted to say something, but after taking a breath, he fell into a great sense of loss. Where was the trap of Orochimaru's sentence? It was to test whether Naruto had third-generation Naruto and fourth-generation Naruto reincarnated in Edo Tensei. First-generation Naruto said that he hadn't. Then Orochimaru got the answer he wanted to know. It doesn't matter if he was witty or scheming, the first Hokage wasn't careful. At the same time, outside the Woodleaf Ninja Village, Naruto was making a major decision. Who was he going to possess? 4 people, Metkei, Hinata Ningji, Lee Locke, and Tion. Metkai's soul power was definitely not as good as Naruto's. But soul power was only one of the factors. The most important factor was the will. If Naruto had learned Genjutsu, he might have been able to break through, but now it was definitely difficult. Unless he launched an attack with soul power and completely erased Metkai's soul with one slash. Should he kill Metkei? Of course not. Metkei was one of the few people in Woodleaf that Naruto didn't hate. Besides, it wasn't certain whether he could succeed. Then he could only choose between Lee Locke, Hinata Ningji, and Tion. Lee Locke, if he possessed his body, it would be very troublesome. For example, running upside down in Woodleaf with Metkei every day. Hinata Ningji, Naruto wasn't sure. After all, Byakugan was an alien, and there might be trouble. Tion. Forget it, Naruto didn't want to cross-dress. So, Lee Locke. In the perception barrier, Metkei suddenly gave a thumbs up. Shao Li. Let's see who gets to Woodleaf first. Shao Li howled. Okay. Metkei bared his teeth. Use your hands, and run upside down. Shao Li got ready to do a handstand. Okay. The scene in front of him made Naruto's face as black as the bottom of a pot. Did he want to do this? At this moment, the auras of a few more people appeared in the perception barrier. Woof woof. Barking. Then, yo. You guys just came back too? It was Tooth Inuzuka. For a moment, his choices seemed to have increased a lot. Chapter 430. The moment he sensed Akamaru, Naruto dispersed the perception enchantment. Metkei couldn't find the perception enchantment, but it didn't mean that others couldn't find it. What's more, the person who was about to come was not weak in illusion. On the ice, the snow was still falling from the sky, the branches and leaves were high and low, and the world was white. Several people in Metkai's team stopped in place. Xiao Li and Metkei, who were standing upside down, looked up at the people who greeted them. 2 women and 2 men, 1 tall and 3 short. The tall one was Kurenai, and the taller one of the 3 short ones was a girl with brown hair and slanted bangs. The girl looked very quiet, with a kind of modesty unique to a big family. Of the 2 short boys, one wore black sunglasses and his whole face was hidden in the hood, and the other had 2 triangular red paint on his face, which was also unique. "Yo, it's Kurenai. You're back too. Did the mission go well?" Metkei continued to stand upside down, and Shaoli next to him stood upside down. Tian and Hinata Ningji took a few steps back from these 2 guys. Kurenai looked over and politely replied, "The mission went well. Are you going to cultivate? Go ahead, I won't disturb you." Metkei supported himself with one hand, gave a thumbs up with the other hand, and made a smile that he thought was hearty. "Then we'll meet at Woodleaf. Shaoli, come on. Let's see who gets to the gate of the village first." "Oh, Ching-chun, run." A smoke signal rolled over, and the snowflakes were blown away. Naruto's body merged into the trunk and watched the 2 fools disappear in front of him. He didn't want Xiao Li's body even if he died. But what made Naruto more concerned was the girl next to Kurenai. Who was she? It seemed that she replaced Hinata's original position. Oh wait, she was replacing Sakura Haruno. This girl seemed to have the same temperament as Hinata. It was a reserved temperament that only big families had. Her feet were close together and the tips of her toes were closer together. Her body was very straight. Standing in the wind and snow, she had the beauty of a plum blossom blooming proudly in the snow. It was neither overbearing nor ostentatious. It was quiet, but it was definitely unusual. Naruto looked at the girl. The girl seemed to sense his gaze and looked over. Naruto instinctively avoided the girl's line of sight and escaped along the roots of the tree trunk before attaching himself to another tree. Did she notice it? Was this a woman's instinct? "Yagen, what are you looking at?" Tooth Inuzuka noticed that the girl was staring at one spot and asked. Akamaru, who was on the ground, also looked confused. The girl called Yakumo shook her head. "It's nothing. Maybe it's just the wind." Naruto didn't look directly at the girl again, but he heard their conversation clearly. "This girl's name is Yaken? Could it be Kurama Yaken?" The Woodleaf clan with a special Kekkei Genkai. The Kekkei Gunkai's ability was to turn illusions into reality. However, because there were very few people, the Kekkei Genkai could only produce 1 person every few generations. Gradually, they faded out of sight and were easily overlooked. If it was, no need to say if it should be. Naruto glanced at the others. Excluding Tian, Hinata Ningji, and Lee Locke, he could only choose now. Tooth Inuzuka. Or Aburame Root. Aburame Root's body was full of insects. What would it feel like to have the insects move in the body? Was it itchy? Did it hurt? And the insects should have a certain level of consciousness. Would they notice the change in spiritual energy? If they found out, would they attack him indiscriminately? There shouldn't be any spiritual attacks, but what if they swallowed his body? Naruto imagined the scene of the insects eating him, and his scalp was a little numb. So it seems that only Tooth Inuzuka is the most suitable. That careless appearance. His spiritual energy shouldn't be much. If it's done right, maybe he can temporarily seal the other party's consciousness? But there's a problem here. Tooth Inuzuka is a little far from him, and he's standing next to Kurenai and Yaken. If his spirit body suddenly went over, the possibility of being discovered was extremely high. What should I do? At this time, Akamaru's nose twitched, and he came over. Did Akamaru discover him? No way. Is his ability that bad? Akamaru moved over and attracted the attention of the others. Everyone's eyes followed Akamaru's gaze. Naruto couldn't help but be nervous. Should he move? No, if Akamaru can really discover him, then he will be exposed. After all, a dog's nose and a woman's intuition are not the same system. Naruto tried to reduce Chakra's aura as much as possible. That is, he let his body relax, so that under the influence of his will, Chakra's aura will also be weakened. Time passed second by second. Akamaru came straight to the tree. The way it twitched its nose made the people who were staring at it nervous. Yoken whispered, "Akamaru, this is—" Tooth Inuzuka's eyes were serious. Tion put his hand on the scroll pocket. Hinata Ningji frowned and raised his hand to seal Chakra's Byakugan. But at this time, Akamaru, who came under the tree, suddenly raised his leg and peed on the tree. For a while, the atmosphere was strange and awkward. Yoken and Tion snorted, and their faces were slightly red. Kurenai's nervous expression also eased, and she smiled. Of course, the most awkward one is the dog's owner, Tooth Inuzuka. He also turned his head with a look of disgust, as if to say that this is not his dog. In order to cover up the awkwardness, the others hurriedly changed the topic and exchanged a few words. What about Naruto? His little heart was still thumping. The silly dog scared him to death. Akamaru raised his leg and peed, and his little butt shook. A gust of wind blew, and it was really coquettish. Naruto looked at the silly dog, feeling both annoyed and amused. Suddenly, he had an idea. He can attach to Akamaru's body first. Then find an opportunity to transfer from Akamaru to Tooth Inuzuka's body. Perfect. It's simply a godsend opportunity. Naruto didn't hesitate. Quietly a black rune emerged from the bottom of Akamaru's foot, and quickly covered Akamaru's body. It was close to the skin, and with the dog's hair covering it, it couldn't be seen from the outside. Binding curse. Akamaru's body was fixed. Naruto took this opportunity to leave his body with spiritualization and directly entered Akamaru's foot. The seal changed, and Akamaru's dog eyes fell into confusion. Nerve interception. Seal. Akamaru was motionless for a second. Finally, a light flashed in the confused dog's eyes. Success. Akamaru's body is now under control. In the spiritual world, the dog cage formed by the curse seal locked the little white dog tightly. Inside the cage, the little white dog was curled up in a ball and sleeping quietly, and from time to time, it smacked its lips as if it was having a beautiful dream. Akamaru. It's almost time. It's time to go. Akamaru was sleeping, but the dog's body subconsciously barked after hearing Tooth Inuzuka's call. Then, he took to his heels and scampered over to her. Naruto, who was controlling the dog, had a dark expression on his face. He suddenly felt ashamed. Chapter 431. What is the stupidest thing in the world? If someone asks Naruto, then Naruto will definitely answer by entering Akamaru's body. So what's even more stupid? He is now accompanying Tooth Inuzuka to do special training. Woodleaf Inuzuka clan's training ground. Tooth Inuzuka's hands pressed on the ground and his whole body was lying on the snow in his beast form. Akamaru transformed into Tooth Inuzuka's appearance. This is the beast seal and the human seal. Then, chakra revolved around his body, rotating. Tooth intonation. Inuzuka Kiba and Akamaru turned into two tornadoes, hitting a big tree that was surrounded by three people. The tree trunk was hit by the storm formed by chakra, the snow and ice on the branches were instantly shaken, and then the trunk was torn to pieces with a creaking sound. Bang! The trunk was crushed, and Akamaru, who transformed into Tooth Inuzuka, also released the transformation. Good job, Akamaru, you finally found the state. Tooth Inuzuka was very happy to come over and rub Naruto's head. Good job? Yes, good job. Naruto endured for 3 days and finally learned this crappy ninjutsu. Then he can finally occupy Tooth Inuzuka's body with peace of mind. Naruto licked the capsule hidden under his tongue on his teeth and then crushed it with a crunch. White gas was spat out from Akamaru's mouth and sprayed on Tooth Inuzuka's face. Stupid Tooth Inuzuka thought that his dog was playing with him and also spat on Naruto. But when he spat out half of the gas, his eyes turned white and he fell on the snow. Then Akamaru also fainted. Naruto's spirit body took this opportunity to easily enter Tooth Inuzuka's body. At the same time, the curse that was planted as early as last night when Tooth Inuzuka was sleeping was activated. It was a binding curse for insurance. After half an hour, Tooth Inuzuka woke up again, but the owner of the consciousness has been replaced by Naruto. Tooth Inuzuka. Favorite food is beef jerky, cartilage, and other chewy things. Daily activities is taking Akamaru for a walk. Mother Inuzuka Claw is the clan leader of the Inuzuka clan. Claw is rigid and strict. No matter what Tooth Inuzuka does, even the mealtime can't be delayed for a second. Otherwise, according to his mother's dogma, people who don't get up and go downstairs is not qualified to eat. Mother's ninja is a one-eyed black ninja dog that can speak human language. His personality is more ruthless and overbearing. Every time he sees Akamaru, he will teach him a few words. Her tone is tone often has a casual tone. A bit like the past 9 of the past. His sister is Sister Inka. Unlike his strict and even old-fashioned mother, Tooth Inuzuka's sister is a gentle person. She is a veterinarian by profession, and at the same time participates in the wood leaf patrol work in shifts. Sister has 3 ninja beasts, referred to as the 3 Grey Brothers. Well, they can also speak human language. The above is the daily information about Tooth Inuzuka that Naruto collected in the past 3 days in addition to learning the secret techniques of the Inuzuka clan. With this information, at least Naruto can pretend to be Tooth Inuzuka without being discovered. Lend me your body for a few days, I promise to return it to you as it is. Naruto, who possessed Tooth Inuzuka, sat up from the ground. Then he took out a card from Akamaru's mouth. First he washed it with snow, then he very carelessly wiped it with Akamaru's dog hair. Then he pasted it on his body, and Chakra injected the card into it. The card then deformed and clung to the skin, then faded and disappeared, leaving only a curse symbol. After another 3 seconds, even the runes on the runes disappeared. System prompt, spiritual network reconnected. System prompt, please enter your account number. This time there is no need for Ninetales verification. Naruto directly logged in with the sub-user set up under the name of the 5-star card. As soon as he logged in, Naruto received a message from Hinata. Naruto-kun, your plan is complete? Naruto suddenly went offline just now, which made Hinata very worried, thinking that something happened to Naruto. Naruto replied, it was successful, it went smoothly. Hinata let out a long sigh. Then she was a little worried, that it won't have a bad effect on Tooth Inuzuka, right? Naruto promised, don't worry, I used a variant of the 4-symbol seal, only sealing the consciousness, it won't hurt him. After hearing Naruto's assurance, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Tooth Inuzuka has been taking care of her when they were in the Ninja Academy. And he also took care of Naruto. Thinking of this, Hinata felt that her worries were a little unnecessary. How could Naruto-kun do something to hurt Tooth Inuzuka? That was absolutely impossible. Then Hinata hesitated, that Naruto-kun. I want to see my... Naruto knew Hinata's thoughts. Hinata should be homesick after being away from home for a long time. Fong Xian, just leave it to me, I'll let you see them. Hinata bit her lip and gratefully said, Naruto-kun, thank you. Naruto sighed, silly girl, I should be the one thanking you, you left would leave for me. Speaking of this matter, Naruto's heart inexplicably felt heavy. The most difficult thing to bear was the favor of a beauty. Even if the beauty was still young, just a little beauty, it was hard to bear. This kind of favor, it was very difficult to repay except by marrying her. Naruto couldn't help but feel guilty. Back then, if he didn't bring Hinata out, would it be better? After meeting Hinata's parents, Sakura Haruno also came to find him. Naruto. Naruto was very understanding and also walked around Sakura Haruno's house. But this meeting wasn't sad, because Sakura Haruno's parents unexpectedly gave birth to another child. It was a boy, with pink hair like Sakura Haruno, a handsome face, and no wide forehead. After Sakura Haruno saw him and thanked him, she angrily cut off the spiritual link and went to find her Sasuke-kun again. Since Sasuke was arranged to go to the mercenary academy by second Naruto, Sakura Haruno also followed. And then, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi met Naruto when he possessed Akamaru. That was when he turned in the mission and did the mission report. To put it simply, Kakashi, who had become the 6th Hokage, was still as frivolous as ever. He had dead fish eyes all day long and looked half asleep. Just looking at him made one want to beat him up. But what made Naruto a little emotional was that big white teeth was always by Kakashi's side. "Ah, Naruto-sama." Naruto greeted Kakashi with Tooth Inuzuka's rough, wild, and somewhat shy tone. Kakashi turned his head with dead fish eyes and answered weakly, "Ah, Tooth Inuzuka." His tone was very similar to Tooth Inuzuka's rhythm. It didn't take a genius to figure out that this was a reply that had been copied without going through the brain. Only Kakashi could be this lazy. Was it really okay to leave Woodleaf to him? For the first time, Naruto was worried about Woodleaf's future. "You took Akamaru out for a walk?" Kakashi glanced at Akamaru, who was hanging on Naruto's shoulder like a dead dog. Naruto followed Kakashi's line of sight and glanced at Akamaru on his shoulder. "Ah, this child is tired from playing and has fallen asleep." "Huh?" Kakashi raised his eyebrows. "Walking the dog until it fell asleep? This is really unique." Kakashi thought of his group of ninja dogs. Talking dogs are very difficult to please, so he didn't want to walk them at all. For example, passing by a fried chicken restaurant. The dog suddenly stopped and roared, "I want to eat fried chicken. Do you want to buy it or not? Once is okay, but try eating from the beginning to the end of the street? You're pricking my heart." Besides, he had a group. Chapter 432. Goodbye to Kakashi. Naruto continued to walk in the wood leaf with Akamaru on his shoulder. Akamaru, who was on his shoulder, was like sitting on a tractor. Without any shock absorption, he finally woke up after 100 or so times. "Awoo!" Akamaru screamed in pain. "Awake!" Naruto lifted Akamaru from his shoulder and held him in his arms and rubbed his head for a while to comfort the little guy who woke up. Akamaru's face was rubbed, and his dog eyes looked at his master dumbfoundedly. He even sniffed and confirmed that the smell was correct. After confirming that it was indeed his master, he whined helplessly to complain. "Let's go, Tion is good today. Let's walk around and bask in the sun together." Naruto put Akamaru on the ground. Akamaru looked up at the sky stupidly, blue sky, white clouds, and the sun. It was indeed a good day. But how come here in the wood leaf? Akamaru's memory was still the dog urine on the way back. While he was wondering, Naruto had walked away. Akamaru didn't have time to think about it and chased after him. "It seems to be saying that the poop picker didn't wait for me." A man and a dog walked on the street of the wood leaf. Walk and stop, stop and walk. Until they passed by a ninja store. The store's curtain was very big, and the most important thing was that there was a sign outside the store. The sign said, "Dog food is half price today." Naruto looked at the sign and said to Akamaru, "How about it? Do you want to change your taste?" Akamaru's electric buttocks shook, and his small tail shook happily. And it was more professional than the stupid Shiba Inu. At least it wouldn't shake in circles like a helicopter, and it wouldn't shake and fly. Ring. Opening the doorbell of the store rang. It was pleasant and familiar. Naruto raised his eyes and looked at the bell, which was the doorbell of the previous store. The doorbell was polished as if it was new, but Naruto could see from the details that it was the previous one. "Welcome, what would you like to order?" The two girls, who looked like twins, bowed at the same time. Naruto felt as if he was seeing the Sakuragi sisters. However, the person in front of him wasn't Haru Sakuratani or Natsuya Sakuragi. Naruto picked up Akamaru, who came in through the crack of the door. She simply replied, "Dog food." Then, they were led to the dog food shelf. Akamaru's little nose twitched as he sniffed. She looked extremely adorable. However, the plastic packaging was so tight that he couldn't smell it at all. He couldn't help but frown. Naruto put down Akamaru. "Choose what you want to eat." Then, he turned around and left. Choose by himself? How should he choose? "I can't smell anything." Akamaru's small face was serious. He turned his head and looked at the shelf again. Then Akamaru saw the picture on the dog food packaging. There were many beautiful puppies on it. There are male and female. Akamaru's eyes only fall on the female, and then choose that flavor of dog food. As for how to distinguish between male and female, it all depends on how cute they are. He just didn't know if there was a crossdresser among the puppies. On the other side, Naruto continued to contact the Sakuragi sisters through the mental network. He praised, "Smart, who thought of selling dog food at half price?" In the 3-person temporary chat group, Natsuya Sakuragi praised, "Such a good idea, of course it was sister who thought of it? My clumsy Sarah." Clumsy? Naruto remembered how Natsuya Sakuragi had single-handedly directed the huge compensation. Naruto, aren't you going to take a look at the casino? That place was built according to your design. It's amazing. Casino, Naruto rubbed his nose. Not yet, my current identity is Tooth Inuzuka, after all, so I need to keep a low profile. Summer continued to ask, "Then what about my pastry shop?" Naruto nodded, "That's fine, I'll take Akamaru there in a bit." Summer happily said, "Then Summer will wait for you at the pastry shop." Naruto casually picked up an item from the shelf, and with a slight force of his hand, the packaging of the item was crushed with a poof. Naruto exclaimed, "Eh? Isn't your packaging too lousy?" The clerk in charge of that shelf saw the item with the broken packaging. It was a bag of potato chips. The clerk said politely, "You open this item, you have to buy it." Naruto frowned, "But I hate the smell of barbecued meat." The clerk repeated, "Then you have to buy this item, otherwise you will be listed as an unwelcome customer, and you will not be able to spend money in our shop in the future." Naruto held the bag of potato chips with a conflicted expression. At this time, Haru Sakuratani walked over. "What happened?" The shop assistant righteously told him what had happened. Haru Sakuratani said to Naruto, "Then come with me, help me move these items to my room, and you don't have to pay." The routine was perfect. Naruto didn't read the script with Haru Sakuratani beforehand. He was simply making one move at a time. But when the two were combined, there was no problem at all. Naruto smiled and said, "Okay, I'll help you move the things to your office." When the two entered the office one after the other, Naruto put 2 buckets of water on the ground and praised, "Very good." Haru Sakuratani smiled, "It's just so-so." Then the two of them exchanged greetings. Haru Sakuratani threw a bamboo blade over, Naruto caught it, and Haru Sakuratani disappeared. Swordsmanship. Fierce battle. Dang. The bamboo blades collided, and a strong force came at him. Naruto's body wasn't his own. He lacked too much strength, and if he took it head-on, he would definitely be sent flying. Naruto turned his body sideways, and rotated to resist the force. At the same time, he took advantage of the force and turned around to throw out a quick strike. Dang. 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 The two of them went back and forth, and their speed became faster and faster. Haru Sakuratani's swordsmanship was domineering and fierce, and it was straightforward. It was said that there was no technique, but the timing and position of each attack were amazing. She specifically chose the most uncomfortable places to stab, and the places that couldn't be defended against. She was extremely fierce, and this was the highest level of technique. Patter. Naruto's bamboo blade was knocked away. Tooth Inuzuka's hand trembled uncontrollably. If he wanted to use 4 tails to lift 1,000 kilograms, he would need 1,000 tails of strength to do so. Tooth Inuzuka's body, compared to Naruto's, was too weak. Haru Sakuratani put away her sword and said unhappily, "You didn't put in any effort to practice your swordsmanship, and you're still the same. You haven't forged for a long time, right? You're rusty at using force to fight force." This sentence was irrefutable. It was indeed so. Naruto picked up the bamboo blade and handed it to Haru Sakuratani, and said helplessly, "I have too many abilities, and I don't even know what to practice and what to learn." Haru Sakuratani said concisely, "Practice your swordsmanship." Naruto blinked. "Why?" Haru Sakuratani said matter-of-factly, "Because killing is the easiest and saves the most effort." "Is that so?" Thinking of the scene of Haru Sakuratani killing people, "It really is easy and saves the most effort." Naruto shrugged. "All right, I'll practice my swordsmanship when I go back this time. By the way, is there any news from the store manager? The Akatsuki is hunting down the people of the underground exchange. What is his attitude?" Haru Sakuratani was about to speak, but suddenly stopped. The perception barrier in this room of the store reminded her that someone was outside the door. Clang, clang, clang. There was a knock on the door. Naruto and Haru Sakuratani looked at each other. Haru Sakuratani calmed down and said, "Please come in." The door was pushed open, and the person outside was Shino Yomi and Akamaru. Akamaru sensed the battle and called for reinforcements? Was it that amazing? Naruto checked the perception barrier in this room when he came in, and the movement inside couldn't be transmitted to the outside. Otherwise, the two couldn't fight. Then, Shino Yomi met Silly Dog, and then Silly Dog came to him with Shino. Woof, woof. Akamaru barked twice, not fiercely, but as if he was trying to say something. Unfortunately, Naruto wasn't Tooth Inuzuka, so he couldn't understand Akamaru language. Tooth Inuzuka looked at Shino Yomi. Shino Yomi said briefly, "I have a mission." After leaving the ninja store, Tooth Inuzuka asked, "What happened?" Shino Yomi replied briefly, "Naruto came back, and stole the ashes of Yondaime-sama Naruto and Yondaime-sama Naruto." What? Naruto was confused. Chapter 433. What the hell? He's here in person? Could it be that Little Nine is here? That's impossible. Naruto contacted Little Nine through the spiritual link. "Where are you?" Nine Tails controlled Naruto's body, standing on the mountain peak in the distance of Wood Leaf and looking into the distance. "I'm basking in the sun on the mountain. What's wrong? What's the situation?" Although the spiritual link between Naruto and Nine Tails was two-way, Nine Tails' vision was shared with Naruto from time to time. Only Nine Tails took the initiative, and as long as Naruto didn't cut off the spiritual link, everything he saw and heard would be transmitted to Nine Tails in real time. Naruto asked, "You didn't come to Wood Leaf, right?" On the mountain peak, Naruto, controlled by Little Nine, turned over, lying on the mountain ridge with his hands folded behind his head, and directly replied, "The person who impersonated you is not me." Hearing this, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, Naruto didn't think it would be Nine Tails. Then, who could it be? Only Orochimaru. The function of the ashes in Naruto's view should be the Edo Tensei. And the people who can use the Edo Tensei, except for the people around him. Well, it's impossible for Tsunade. Wait, whose ashes did you say Naruto stole? Shino Yomi rushed towards the Naruto building and replied concisely, "The fourth Naruto couple, and the third Naruto." The fourth Naruto couple. Husband, wife. Uzumaki Kushina's ashes were also taken? What does Orochimaru want to do? Threaten him with Uzumaki Kushina? Or, just to prove the authenticity of the impersonation of Naruto? Let Wood Leaf mistakenly think that he wants to resurrect his parents? Indeed, in this way, Orochimaru's impersonation of Naruto will not arouse suspicion. So, Orochimaru's original intention was to tell Woodleaf that Uzumaki Naruto was still alive. However, Orochimaru probably didn't know that the news of him being alive had already been exposed when the Clown Emperor's mercenaries were captured. That was why it was superfluous. Heh, this Orochimaru. Naruto shook his head with a wry smile. But, the moment he heard that Orochimaru had taken Kushina away, Naruto felt as if a string in his heart had been touched. His entire person became extremely agitated. On the roof of the Naruto building, Kakashi stood in front of the ninjas. He ordered, "You guys, go patrol the prison. Capture any suspicious person you find. Remember to capture them alive." In the crowd, Shikamaru said, "Naruto, Sama, should we strengthen the security around the village to prevent Naruto from escaping?" Shikamaru glanced at his son, but didn't say anything because he was also curious. Kakashi looked at Shikamaru and said with certainty, "No, if he is Naruto, then he will never escape now." Shikamaru looked at Kakashi. Kakashi's eyes were very firm. Shikamaru suddenly realized that in the prison, there should be something that Naruto cares about. The person that Naruto cares about is in the prison? Who? Could it be Hinata? Shikamaru Nara thought of Hinata who disappeared, but then he shook his head. If Hinata is locked in the prison, the Hyuga clan can't be so stable. It's impossible for there to be no news at all. Shikamaru Nara thought. Kakashi ordered, "Shikamaru Nara, take Tooth Inuzuka, Hinata Ninji, and Shino Yomi into the prison. If you encounter Naruto, you find a way to keep him. It doesn't matter if you can't keep him. We will guard outside. Pay attention to your own safety." Shikamaru Nara was shocked and pointed to himself and said with uncertainty, "I lead the team? I'm just a genin, right?" For a moment, Shikamaru Nara suddenly regretted his words. This kind of trouble. Isn't it too late to avoid it? Kakashi didn't say much and turned to the others and began to distribute. The other jonins were sent by Kakashi to the periphery of the village to chase or block the village. Shikamaru Nara could see that this was just an illusion. The purpose was to lure Naruto out from hiding in the wood leaf. In the crowd, Naruto, who was controlling Tooth Inuzuka's body, blinked. Others don't know why they are guarding the prison, but he knows very well. That is, the Clown Emperor and his 3 women are in the prison. Oh my god, is this the legendary god helping me? No, it's Orochi helping me. This is interesting. If Orochimaru knows, I don't know if he will be angry. Just now, Naruto was worried about the whereabouts of the Clown Emperor and his 3 women, but now he doesn't have to worry. After Kakashi issued the order, the ninjas dispersed. At this time, Kakashi handed Shikamaru an envelope. "You go to the bottom of the prison and keep an eye on these 3 targets." Shikamaru looked at the 3 photos and then passed them to the others. When it was Naruto's turn, Naruto couldn't help but feel emotional. It was indeed those 3 girls. The President, 04, and 05. These 3 silly girls actually came to the wood leaf to look for him. How should he put it? He was quite moved. He recalled what Zero told him about the President's words. "Since they're the Clown Emperor's subordinates, I have to take them back even if I have to." Sigh, so silly. They're so cute. Woof. Woof. Akamaru stared at the photos for a few times before barking twice, as if saying that he remembered them. Naruto handed the photos to Kakashi. And so, everyone hurried over to the prison. But then again, how did Kakashi know that Naruto knew where the 3 women were being held? Did he intentionally leak the information when he discovered Naruto? Or did he intend to spread the information before? The prison had a total of 12 floors. After entering, Naruto saw an old acquaintance. It was Mizuki, one of Orochimaru's abandoned pawns. "What are you kids doing here? Could it be that something has happened outside?" The others in the cell where Mizuki was being held looked over at him. But apart from Akamaru, who replied with a woof, everyone else ignored him. They hurriedly walked past him and headed deeper into the prison. Soon, Naruto saw the three girls. Naruto's cell had a lightning talisman on it. The three of them weren't tied up, so they seemed quite free. They also had a complete set of tools, from toilets to bathing beds. Naruto didn't rashly use mental link to communicate with them directly. Instead, he observed them for a while, observing their behavior and how they sat. After confirming that they weren't fake ninjas, he carefully contacted them with a fake mental link. "I'm the one who saved you. Relax, and don't let anyone discover that I'm talking to you." The three of them had decent mental fortitude, so they didn't show any abnormalities. "Now relax and don't resist me, and you'll be able to communicate with me." 04 and 05 secretly looked at the president, waiting for instructions. The president didn't move. He didn't accept the mental link. Not enough trust. Naruto spoke, "Lightning Country, get fat, lose weight at sea." The president accepted the invitation, and then 04 and 05 also accepted. Then the scene in front of the three girls changed, and they appeared in the Lightning Country. Naruto didn't reveal his true appearance, using the appearance of Tooth Inuzuka. 04 was the first to speak. "Did Naruto ask you to save us?" Naruto, disguised as Tooth Inuzuka, replied, "Yes." 04 firmly said, "What about him? Will he come with us? If he doesn't, I won't either." Naruto looked at 04, who stared at him like an angry tiger cub. Then Naruto looked at the other two girls. 05 nodded repeatedly, "Yes. He must come with us." The president didn't say anything, but his serious expression said everything. Looking at the three of them, Naruto couldn't help but complain. "Are you stupid?" Chapter 434. Outside Wood Leaf Ninja Village. Covered in a cloak, Orochimaru, who looked like Naruto, shuttled through the jungle unhurriedly. His plan should be successful in his opinion, but why hasn't the Wood Leaf Ninja caught up yet? Or, is the current Wood Leaf Ninja so weak that Jiraiya isn't here? Although Orochimaru was puzzled, he didn't stop to find out. The ashes of Sandame Naruto and Yondame Naruto were still with him. These two items were related to his plan, and he couldn't afford to lose them. Orochimaru accelerated and crossed the last line of defense of Wood Leaf Ninja Village after a few ups and downs. It was a huge wooden wall made of thick wooden stakes. Orochimaru jumped up, stopped for a moment on the wooden wall, and looked back at Wood Leaf Ninja Village behind him. No one caught up yet. Orochimaru couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He couldn't help but mock. "So weak. It's better to destroy them directly." Orochimaru made a hand seal with one hand. Reverse summoning technique. It took Orochimaru 4 seconds to gather his chakra, and then with a bang, Orochimaru disappeared. In fact, no one chased after Orochimaru at all. All the ninjas were on guard near the prison. It can be said that an inescapable net was set. Enchantment ninjutsu, genjutsu traps, and the Byakugan investigation, all kinds of methods were interlocked, and it was completely according to the formation against 9 tails. A minute passed. The wind blew, and a few snowflakes fell from the roof. Some of them were heavy, and they fell to the ground and piled up or melted. Half an hour passed. A white cloud floated by, blocking the sun and making the sky dark. The ninjas on guard couldn't help but raise their vigilance. The cloud was very long and floated for a long time. The people below became more and more nervous, but still nothing happened. A few hours passed. Their auras condensed together, causing the air to become oppressive. Finally, the sun got off work. Without the sun, the weather was getting colder. The murderous aura intertwined with the cold winter air, and the atmosphere froze. The moon rose higher and higher. It wandered in the sky. Then the moon got off work. It was a long night. However, nothing happened. Inside the cell, Hinata Ninji and Shino Yomi sat cross-legged, alert. Tooth Inuzuka. Snoring could be heard. Shikamaru Nara's frown grew deeper and deeper. In the end, He couldn't help but slap the back of Tooth Inuzuka's head, preparing to break his neck. However, Akamaru, who was vigilant to protect his master, jumped up and bit him. "Hey! This was a mission. You better know when to stop." Shikamaru Nara roared at Tooth Inuzuka. Tooth Inuzuka stopped snoring and replied with his eyes closed, "I'm not asleep. I'm just pretending to be asleep out of boredom. Don't you think that's interesting? Pretending to be asleep?" Shikamaru's mouth twitched as he looked at Tooth Inuzuka. What the F***ck? Even if you're lying, can't you wipe your saliva first and then find an excuse? After a long time, the radio hanging in Shikamaru Nara's ear finally sounded with Kakashi's command. "The mission is over. Come back." It's over? What was the purpose of this mission? What did they do? Was Naruto caught before he came in? Shikamaru Nara wanted to ask, but the communication was directly hung up after he replied, "Roger." Naruto's office. Kakashi leaned on the chair. Opposite him was Jiraiya, who came back from outside. Jiraiya heard about Naruto stealing the ashes of Yondaime-sama Naruto and his wife and Yondaime-sama Naruto. Kakashi was very disappointed. "I'm responsible for the failure of this mission." Jiraiya didn't answer and continued to think. Kakashi continued, "It seems that the current Naruto is no longer the Naruto we knew in the past." Jiraiya still didn't answer. Kakashi promised, "I will definitely get him back." Jiraiya nodded in agreement. "Yes, you should get him back. But how can you be sure that that person is Naruto? And if it's Naruto, how did he know that I wasn't in the village? Was it just a coincidence that I wasn't there? Or was this also under his deliberate guidance?" Kakashi hesitated. Naruto, a straight guy, would think so much. Jiraiya sighed. "Why do you still think he's straight? He has a record of pretending to be dead to escape from Woodleaf. No matter how you look at it, he's not straight." Jiraiya emphasized the word, straight. "His way of doing things reminds me of a certain person," Kakashi wondered. "Tsunade?" For a long time, in all the assumptions, Naruto and Tsunade were together. It just so happens that if Naruto wants to resurrect his parents, he also needs to use Edo Tensei. But Jiraiya shook his head. "No, it's Orochimaru." Kakashi's eyes became serious. "You mean, Naruto and Orochimaru are together?" Jiraiya shook his head again. "I just mean the style is similar. In addition, I still have some gains from this trip. The Akatsuki is now looking for Tsunade." Kakashi was convinced. "Doesn't this prove that Naruto is still with Tsunade? Last time you said that the Akatsuki is targeting Bijou, right?" Jiraiya was a little annoyed, but it still doesn't make sense. If Naruto wants to resurrect his parents, why didn't he take his parents' ashes before pretending to be dead? In that case, things would be much simpler than entering Woodleaf again. Kakashi guessed with some disappointment, or maybe Naruto doesn't put Woodleaf in his eyes. As it turns out, this time, he came back and successfully left. Speaking of this, Kakashi was even more disappointed. "Jiraiya-sama, I don't think I'm qualified for the position of Naruto with my talent. Let's change to someone else. Lujo is good. He has a brain. I believe he will do a better job than me as Naruto. Then I will leave Woodleaf and catch Naruto back." Jiraiya rolled his eyes, ignored Kakashi, and disappeared with a body flicker jutsu. "Naruto's position has no other choice except for you. Continue to work hard." After Jiraiya left, the temporarily formed Shikamaru squad came to report. As soon as Shikamaru Nara entered the room, he stabbed Kakashi again. "Naruto-sama, has Naruto been caught?" Kakashi took a deep breath. "The information about Naruto is Woodleaf's top secret. Don't ask." Shikamaru shut up. He had another doubt in his heart. To be reasonable. Isn't Naruto dead? At that time, Kakashi also issued a gag order, saying that Naruto's death was Woodleaf's top secret, and it was forbidden to spread. He said that Naruto just went out to perform a mission. For the first time, Shikamaru felt that his IQ was a little low. What are Woodleaf's higher-ups doing? Shikamaru's doubts were also the doubts of many Woodleaf ninjas. But a top secret was enough to cover up everything. After all, ninjas obey the orders of their superiors, and what their superiors say is what it is. Of course, there are some people with special authority who are exceptions. For these people's questions, Kakashi's reply was that this time Naruto stole the ashes. There was an outsider pretending to be Naruto. Moreover, the ashes of the fourth Hokage and his wife, as well as the ashes of the third Hokage, were not stolen. It was just a cover for the other party to sneak into Woodleaf to steal information. True and false, false and true, what the truth is, only the parties involved know. At night, Naruto once again solved the Woodleaf's perception enchantment system, and then took Uzumaki Mito's ashes with Earth Release. Along with Danzo's ashes. The 3 women in the prison have signed the ID card. They only need to wait for Naruto's order to teleport away. Of course, there was originally a space ninjutsu enchantment in the prison. But Naruto slept there for a night, and now it's only the appearance, and the function is paralyzed. Woodleaf Ninja Village. Naruto looked up. The moon tonight is big, round, and beautiful. Under this beautiful moonlight, Naruto wrote a letter to Kakashi. The content of the letter: I left quietly. Just as I came quietly, I waved my sleeves and took away what I wanted to take away. Kakashi, sensei, the one who stole the ashes of the fourth husband and the third Naruto was not me, it was Orochimaru. This guy wanted to frame me, but thanks to him, well, I won't go into the details. Finally, I wish you Tion happy and have a child soon, ah. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Kakashi, sensei, don't miss me too much, ah. Ha 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 ha. Naruto read it once by himself, and felt that although the words were few, each word was precious. It was full of his respect and love for Kakashi. Naruto folded the letter, put it in an envelope, and stuffed it into the mailbox in front of Kakashi's house, half exposed so that people can see it at a glance. 9. Meet me outside, I'm ready to leave. Chapter 435. The second morning after Naruto left. Tooth Inuzuka was awakened by Akamaru's lick. This is home? What time is it? Tooth Inuzuka yawned and looked at the alarm clock on the bedside. After confirming that he didn't sleep past dinner time, his heart calmed down a lot. If he didn't go downstairs after dinner time, the result would be quite terrible. It was still early, but Tooth Inuzuka didn't dare to continue to sleep because of the shadow in his heart. He sat up and stretched and planned to get dressed and wash his face. Wait, Tooth Inuzuka looked at the alarm clock again. The date on the alarm clock showed the 16th? The alarm clock is broken? How come he remembered that it was the 11th yesterday? Tooth Inuzuka walked out of the door and the aroma of food hit his face. Rumble! Tooth Inuzuka wrinkled his nose and walked to the kitchen. In the kitchen, his mother was wearing an apron and cooking. You're up? Wash your hands and get ready to eat. Tooth Inuzuka wrinkled his nose. Although his mother's temper is a bit bad, the food she cooks is definitely healing. By the way, the dog food you brought for Akamaru yesterday was very fond of it. Go buy some more today. Huh? Bring dog food for Akamaru? How come he didn't remember this? Tooth Inuzuka went to find Akamaru. Akamaru wasn't at home, but Tooth Inuzuka saw the dog food packaging next to Akamaru's bowl. He wrote it down. He planned to buy it after dinner. However, the price on it shocked him. 3,000 taels. Is this dog food made of gold? Scammed him. Akamaru is definitely scamming him. But, why is this smell so familiar? Tooth Inuzuka wrinkled his nose. Yes, he smelled this smell when he woke up. Tooth Inuzuka believed in his sense of smell. Then he ran back into the house. The smell came from Akamaru's bowl, and there was a little left over in it. Whether it was the color or smell, it was very similar to the residue left in Akamaru's bowl. What's going on? Where did the dog food come from? Tooth Inuzuka looked at Akamaru. Akamaru tilted his head. Woof woof woof. Woo. Woof. Oh. Akamaru spoke in Akamaru language, and Tooth Inuzuka actually understood. He pointed at himself in surprise and said, "You said, I bought this?" Akamaru nodded repeatedly. Then, with a woof, it used its head to push up the bedsheets, revealing a pile of dog food under the bed. The taste was different, but they had one thing in common. Every bag of dog food had a very cute dog on it. There was also the shocking price. 2,500 taels. 2,300 taels. 3,300 taels. Tooth Inuzuka immediately scurried to his bedside table to find his bankbook. He opened the passbook and heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that all the money was there. So, where did all this dog food come from? Tooth Inuzuka looked at the alarm clock again. The number 16 displayed on it seemed to have some sort of magical power. It seemed to be vaguely telling him that something terrible might have happened. At the same time, Kakashi casually walked out of his house. What's so good about being Naruto? Every day, he gets up earlier than the chicken and goes to bed later than the dog. Kakashi's dead fish eyes were full of fatigue. Yesterday, he thought about Naruto and his own mistakes all night. There's a letter? Kakashi raised his hand to take it, but unexpectedly, he didn't take it down. Is the letter card in the mailbox? No, there's a smell of chakra on it. Who's so bored? Kakashi muttered. The first person that popped up in his mind was Jiraiya. Kakashi injected chakra into the letter. After dispelling the original chakra in the letter, he finally took the letter down. There was no stamp on the cover of the letter, and there was no signature. Kakashi felt that it should be close to what he had guessed. This letter must have been placed here by that boring guy Jiraiya. What a boring guy. When the envelope arrived, Kakashi took out the letter inside and opened it to read. In an instant, Kakashi felt a buzzing sound in his head. Blood rushed to his head, and he almost exploded. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and calmed himself down. Then, he took another look. Letter, I left quietly, just like I came quietly. I waved my sleeves and took away what I wanted to take away. Bird is quiet, northeast direction. Translation: quiet. Kakashi, sensei, the one who stole the ashes of Yondaime-sama and Yondaime-sama wasn't me, it was Orochimaru. That guy actually wanted to frame me, but it's thanks to him. I won't go into the details. Finally, I wish you Tion happiness and a child soon, ah. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Kakashi, sensei, don't miss me too much, ah. Ha 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 ha. Signed, your incomparably handsome student, Uzumaki Naruto. He took another breath. Breathe. 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 He took away what he wanted to take away. Lightning body blink. In an instant, Kakashi disappeared and rushed in the direction of the prison. In a few breaths of time, Kakashi appeared in front of the prison's door. Then, with the identity of Naruto, he acted first and reported later. He didn't even register and directly rushed to the prison where the 3 girls related to Naruto were locked up. The prison was still the same. The items were neatly arranged. If there was a ranking for the best dormitory, it would definitely be this one. Because even the mattress was stacked neatly like tofu. But the most important thing was, there was no one inside. Where is he? Kakashi shouted at the top of his lungs. The ninjas behind him gathered a lot because of Kakashi's intrusion. When they saw that it was Naruto-sama, they couldn't help but sigh in relief. However, before he could relax, he was frightened by a loud shout and stood up again. They looked in front of Naruto-sama. Where is he? The prison head only felt a buzzing sound in his head. His face and neck were red as he shouted to the person beside him, "Where is he?" The ninja on duty that day was as nervous as a rabbit being chased by an eagle. He cried and said with a sad face, "He was still here when we were patrolling last night." When Kakashi saw that the guard couldn't give him an explanation, his mood was. He picked up the letter that Naruto left for him again. Then with a pft, he laughed. Then, he couldn't stop laughing. In the past, Kakashi had never laughed like this. All the ninjas were so scared that they kept quiet. Okay, you can go down. The old man hurriedly bowed and said, we can start searching. Kakashi nodded. Okay, then let's go. The group of ninjas quickly dispersed. Kakashi looked at Naruto's letter for the 4th time. He murmured, "Good boy, you have grown up." At this moment, a strong impulse rose in Kakashi's heart. He must catch the thief Naruto. He must be caught. No matter what. Kakashi's eyes fell on the ashes of Yondaime-sama Naruto and his wife that Orochimaru stole, and the words of Yondaime-sama Naruto. "Brat, your parents' ashes were taken away, and you're still laughing. When I catch you, I'll spank your ass. No, I'll electrocute you to death." Reading it again, Kakashi suddenly had an idea. Returning to Naruto's office, he gathered a group of ninjas and issued a mission to chase the criminal. Then, he picked up a pen and found a piece of paper to write. It was a letter to Jiraiya. The letter was even shorter than Naruto's. There was only one sentence. "I'm going to catch the little bastard Naruto. Naruto's position is up to you. You can wait for me to come back, or you can change the candidate. I recommend that Jiraiya be elected as the 6th Naruto. Famous. Kakashi Hatake." At the same time, Kakashi also put Naruto's letter in it. Then, he pretended to follow the main force to search for the criminal. Chapter 436. Edo Tensei. Orochimaru made a hand seal, and the ashes gathered from the void and gathered on the corpse in front of Orochimaru. Cover, wrap, transform. In a dozen seconds, the sleeping ninja turned into another person. The 3rd Naruto of the Woodleaf Ninja Village, Sarutobi. Next to Sarutobi, there was another person in the Edo Tensei array. That was the sacrifice prepared by Orochimaru for the 4th Naruto, but there was no movement until the 3rd Naruto completed his reincarnation. The 4th Naruto failed to reincarnate. Orochi frowned and looked at the first Hokage who was holding his shoulders on one side. The first Naruto grinned and shrugged. Orochimaru smiled helplessly, but he still had an expression of the overall situation. Forget it. It's not a loss to reincarnate the old man. As for the 4th Hokage, although it's a pity, there's still hope in the future. Orochimaru looked at the 3rd Naruto, who had his eyes closed, and smiled. "Sensei, why don't you open your eyes?" The 3rd Naruto clenched his fists and trembled. He said, "Orochimaru, you used this evil technique again and again." The corners of Orochimaru's mouth cracked open as he said with a fake smile, "Long time no see, old man. This body is not strong enough now. I will make a special one for you in the future." At the same time, the same ceremony was going on in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory. Naruto arranged the rune array of the Reincarnation Whirlpool Array. Beside him stood Tobirama and Kabuto. "Kabuto, you said that Orochimaru went to the Ryuchi cave, right?" Kabuto stood straight and replied, "Yes." Naruto checked the rune array and asked, "Then, why didn't he learn the sensei technique of the Ryuchi cave?" Kabuto said, "This. I have some guesses, but Orochimaru didn't say the specific situation." Naruto raised his head and looked at Kabuto with interest. "Guesses? Then tell me your guess." Medicine Master Pocket pondered for a moment, then seriously said, "According to my understanding of Orochimaru, he is very afraid of death, and learning immortal arts has the risk of being petrified and dying, so he gave up on learning immortal arts directly." Naruto was stunned. He pondered over Medicine Master Do's words. To put it simply, Orochimaru was afraid of death, so he didn't learn any senjutsu. This reason, the more Naruto thought about it, the more it made sense. "Your guess is very interesting. Because you're afraid of death, you don't learn immortal arts. Instead, you nurture someone who knows immortal arts. Then, you can take over that person's body to avoid the risk of being petrified." "Interesting. What you feel might be the truth." Tobirama commented from the side, trash. Naruto shook his head. You can't say that. It's human nature to be afraid of death. He's quite capable to be able to find other ways to circumvent the possibility of death. Tobirama nodded, a little clever, but still a waste. Naruto rolled his eyes and stopped defending Orochimaru. However, he still admired Orochimaru in his heart. Living for a long time and having the ability to live in Naruto's eyes is very awesome. But appreciation is appreciation. Orochimaru took his mother's ashes, and this grudge is formed, and it will not end until one of them is dead. Here, this is the blood sample from Haru and Sia. See if you can extract filial piety in sage mode using Orochimaru's method. Naruto turned his hand and threw a scroll to Medicine Master Do. Then he looked at Tobirama. I'm going to start casting. The job of persuading Uzumaki Mito will be handed over to you. Tobirama nodded. Naruto no longer hesitated and made a hand seal. Edo Tensei. Specks of ashes gathered from all directions and fell on the death row prisoner in the center of the formation. A few seconds later, the face of the death row prisoner changed greatly. His hair changed from black to wine red, and his hairstyle began to change under some rules. This kind of thing is wonderful. The whole process is like dragging the original Uzumaki Mito out of the past time and space. It's the young Uzumaki Mito. Very young, without 2 paper talismans on her hair ornaments, the whole person looks delicate and cute. She seems to be 17 or 18, or even younger. However, the diamond on the forehead representing the Ein seal is still there, which seems to prove that Naruto is not reincarnated into the wrong person. Uzumaki Mito's eyelashes trembled. She opened her mouth and yawned. Then she opened her eyes in a daze. Seeing Naruto in front of her, who is 2 heads taller than her, with long blood-stained hair, and a body like an iron tower. Who are you? Uzumaki Mito's voice is sweet, a little immature, it's a girl's voice. Tobirama's wife. Is a loli? Naruto's head was dizzy and he didn't know the situation. When he heard the other party ask him, he quickly replied, My name is Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you. After hearing the surname Uzumaki, the vigilance on Uzumaki Mito's face dissipated. Her big eyes blinked cutely, and she drilled around Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto? So you and I are of the same clan? But, why haven't I seen you before? Yes. I heard that grandfather's 3rd daughter has a child. Is it you? Grandfather? Is he an elder of the Uzumaki clan? Naruto waved his hand again and again. No, we are not the 2nd generation of the same era. How do I explain this? Naruto felt that the situation was a bit wrong and looked at Tobirama. Naruto looked at Tobirama, and Uzumaki Mito's eyes followed. Tobirama was about to salute, and Uzumaki Mito said, Then who are you? Tobirama was stuck. All the words that were originally organized went to hell. My name is Tobirama. Uzumaki Mito nodded. Oh, I know. Then she seemed to lose interest in Tobirama and turned to look at Naruto again. Hey, whose child are you? If you are not grandfather's 3rd daughter, are you 6th grandfather's 2nd son? Naruto took a deep breath. He wanted to say something, but he also felt that his brain was a bit broken. Don't mention who I am, you are Uzumaki Mito, right? Did she really reincarnate into the wrong person? It's not impossible. After all, the last time she reincarnated Danzo, she reincarnated the 1st generation Naruto. However, the girl blinked her big eyes and nodded. Yes, I am the most talented woman in the history of the Uzumaki clan, Uzumaki Mito. Huh? Is this the style of Uzumaki Mito? Naruto turned his head mechanically and looked at Tobirama. But he found that the expression on that guy's face was more confused than him. Naruto directly contacted Tobirama through spiritual link. What should I do? The reincarnation seems to be the childhood Uzumaki Mito. Tobirama replied, This situation. I don't know, after all, Edo Tensei was banned by my brother shortly after it was developed. Naruto's will projection waved his hand and said, "That's not important, what's important is..." Before Naruto finished speaking, a person suddenly squeezed into the consciousness world formed by Naruto and Tobirama through spiritual link. It was Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito's consciousness fiercely pinched her waist and said, "What are you two whispering here? Deliberately behind my back, are you talking bad about me? Huh? The spiritual world was directly invaded without consent? This Uzumaki Mito is not simple." Chapter 437. Naruto didn't know how to reincarnate a Uzumaki Mito in a baby state. He was only worried about whether Uzumaki Mito in this state was competent to calculate Chakra's algorithm. "Hey! I'm talking to you." Uzumaki Mito, who broke into Naruto's spiritual world, put her hands on her waist and looked angry. Naruto explained, No, how can we say bad things about Mito? We just have some other private things to talk about." Uzumaki Mito looked at Naruto. "Really?" Naruto looked sincere. "Really?" Uzumaki Mito raised his head, and his nostrils flared. "Well, I'll forgive you this time." With that, her consciousness withdrew from the spiritual world formed by Naruto and Tobirama's consciousness. Naruto asked, "What should I do? You're a lobbyist. It doesn't seem to work now. This girl doesn't remember you." Tobirama replied, "How about releasing the technique and reincarnating again?" Naruto pondered, "This seems to be a way. Let's try her level first. If she can crack Chakra's algorithm in this state, then it's not a bad thing." "Why?" "Simply put, children are easy to deceive." The two exchanged a look and nodded in unison, reaching a consensus. The spiritual link was disconnected. Naruto said to Uzumaki Mito, "Let's talk about the current situation." Uzumaki Mito nodded her head obediently. Naruto cleared his throat. "Well, calm down first, don't get excited, now I'll tell you the truth." Actually, you're dead." Uzumaki Mito nodded obediently. 1, 2, 3. The fourth time she was stuck, and then her whole body seemed to be petrified. Then she touched her heart as fast as she could. Her heart stopped beating. "I'm dead?" Naruto nodded. Then Uzumaki Mito raised his hand and pressed it on Naruto's chest. Naruto reacted. If it was an attack, Naruto would have been able to dodge it instantly or imprison the Edo reincarnation's body. However, Naruto did not sense any malicious intent from the other party. Moreover, the speed of the other party's hand wasn't fast, so Chakra didn't stop it. Uzumaki Mito's hand pressed on Naruto's chest and said in surprise, "You are alive?" Naruto nodded. Uzumaki Mito pointed at himself. "Am I dead?" Naruto nodded again. Uzumaki Mito pouted. "Why? Huh? Was there any logical connection between the two?" Then Naruto had to explain from the beginning, starting from the Edo Tensei, a ninjutsu that resurrects the dead, to the reason why Uzumaki Mito was resurrected. In short, we need a great genius to deduce the algorithm of the curse seal for us, and then resurrect you. Uzumaki Mito widened his eyes and said cutely, "You said I'm a great genius?" Naruto nodded happily. Uzumaki Mito's smile was pure and beautiful. He felt that his whole body was floating from the praise, as if he could agree to Naruto's request in the next moment. Then Uzumaki Mito nodded with satisfaction and said, "You have a good eye, not bad, but why should I help you?" Naruto, this is really a problem. Uzumaki Mito spoke again. "You are also from the Uzumaki clan, right? You should have learned the knowledge about the curse seal in the clan. Are you so stupid that you didn't learn anything? Even so, you can ask your teacher, right?" When the teacher was mentioned, Uzumaki Mito suddenly paused, then pointed at himself in disbelief and said, "Don't tell me, your teacher is me?" This logic jumped. Naruto felt that he couldn't keep up. He ran through the questions and answered them one by one. "You are not my teacher." Hearing this sentence, Uzumaki Mito breathed an exaggerated sigh of relief and murmured, "Fortunately, how can I accept a fool as my disciple?" Naruto. Was he stupid? But to be honest, he really felt that his brain couldn't keep up with the communication with Uzumaki Mito. This guy's mind was even more jumpy than his. Uzumaki Mito asked, "Then why are you looking for me? Is today's Uzumaki clan? Are all idiots left?" Uzumaki clan? Naruto shook his head with a wry smile. The country of whirlpools has been destroyed. The Uzumaki clan can be said to be extinct, and their inheritance is broken. No one can be found who is good at sealing. Hearing that the country of whirlpools was gone, the moment the Uzumaki clan was destroyed, Uzumaki Mito's expression became cold. He stared straight at Naruto and asked, "Our clan was destroyed?" Naruto nodded. Uzumaki Mito took a deep breath and asked, "Who did it? Who destroyed the country of whirlpools?" This historical record was very vague. It can be seen that the 5 major countries deliberately concealed it. Naruto didn't know if there was a file in the wood leaf, and he didn't read it. But according to the inference that Naruto talked with the first Naruto and the second Naruto before, it should be that after the first Naruto distributed the tailed beasts to the various countries, the countries suffered from no technology to seal the tailed beasts. So, they joined forces to destroy the Uzumaki clan. Naruto said, "The specific process can't be verified because of the long history, but according to inference, the country of thunder, the country of earth, the country of water, and the Takigaikure are the most suspicious." Uzumaki Mito further asked, "How suspicious?" Naruto organized his words. Originally he wanted to say his inference again, but when the words came to his mouth, he combined them into a sentence. "It's very likely that they did it." Uzumaki Mito pondered, suddenly looked up and asked, "You want me to help you deduce the curse seal?" Naruto nodded and said, "Yes." Uzumaki Mito simply said, "Well, then I will help you if you promise me one thing." Naruto simply replied, "As long as it can be done, I will definitely help you." Uzumaki Mito was just about to speak, then stopped, and the one finger on his right hand turned into 2. "Not 1, I suddenly want to add one more. As long as you promise me 2 things, I will promise you." Naruto promised again, "As long as it can be done, I will do my best." Uzumaki Mito's small face was extremely serious, as if he was the leader of a country. He announced, "First, you have to help me destroy the countries you said bullied the country of whirlpools." "Huh? Destroy the country? The country of thunder? The country of earth? The country of water? And also the Takigaikure? Even if I promise this sentence, will you believe it? Isn't this too much?" Without waiting for Naruto to answer, Tobirama answered, "You can rest assured, our original intention is to unify the world." "Ah, ha." Naruto looked at Tobirama foolishly. He saw that Tobirama's face was serious and murderous. Super serious. It's definitely not like he's lying. Uzumaki Mito looked at Tobirama with surprise. "Really?" Tobirama nodded very seriously. Uzumaki Mito smiled and was very happy. "Good. Then I will talk about the second request." Naruto blinked, and his heart was in a circle. This is fooled? Naruto was in a daze, and he replied in a daze, "You say it." Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, "I will let you marry 180 women, and then give birth to 1,800 children, so that my Uzumaki clan can be strengthened." Naruto upped. Naruto's heart was about to burst out of his chest. This request is even more unreliable than the first one. Isn't it? Chapter 438. Snow Country, Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, 12th floor. Naruto took Uzumaki Mito to check Chakra's synthesis array on the spot. That is, the 12 metal pillars that support the 12th floor. At the same time, he talked about the other 2 people with the Uzumaki bloodline who are still alive in this world. Nagato and Karin. They don't have the surname of Uzumaki? Uzumaki Mito was very dissatisfied with the fact that these 2 people were not called Uzumaki Karin and Uzumaki Nagato. Naruto helplessly said, I don't know much about this, maybe they follow their father's surname. Uzumaki Mito pouted and said, then they can also be called Uzumaki, don't you also follow your mother's surname? No, I want to change their names. Hearing this sentence, Naruto couldn't help but roll his eyes. You're not their parents, why change their names? However, Naruto was too lazy to argue with Uzumaki Mito on this matter. Instead, he went along with the other party's intentions. Well, when you catch them later, you can change their names. Then you can let them have a lot of children and strengthen the Uzumaki clan. Uzumaki Mito nodded again, and then a little dissatisfied, you really don't want to join us? The more people there are, the faster it will be to have children. How about we catch Karen and marry her to you first? The more people there are, the faster it will be to have children. Naruto pointed to himself and said, I'm only 13 years old. Uzumaki Mito stared at Naruto seriously and sighed, then you're really young. Naruto, this sentence is praising him and starting to insult him. I'm sorry if I grow too fast. In order to not let the topic get more and more off topic, Naruto quickly changed the topic. Here we are, the curse seal is on the roof, and it's connected to the 12 pillars at the same time. Uzumaki Mito turned his head and looked around. This floor is very big, bigger than a football field, and people are very small here. Uzumaki Mito started working. Naruto privately messaged Tobirama Senju through the spiritual network. Do you think this girl is okay? I feel like he's younger than me. His understanding of curse seals should be very limited. Tobirama replied, if it doesn't work, we can only try the Edo Tensei again. If it still doesn't work, then I can't do anything, unless we can find the ashes of her grandfather or second grandfather. Naruto was stunned. First grandpa and second grandpa? Are those two people's sealing techniques very powerful? Tobirama affirmed, in that era, in addition to whirlpool water, the two most powerful people in Fuinjutsu. Naruto nodded and asked, where are they buried? Tobirama shook his head. I don't know. Naruto suddenly wanted to kick Senju Tobirama away from his eyes. At this moment, a system notification rang in Naruto's ears. System notification. Snowy Mountain Chakra Supply System is being rewritten. System warning. Chakra of the Great Snow Mountain Supply System interface has changed, unable to recognize. System notification. Chakra of the Great Snow Mountain Supply System has not been detected. Chakra of the Great Snow Mountain Supply System has automatically switched. System notification. Chakra of the Great Snow Mountain's backup link interface has been tampered with. System notification. Backup link failed. System notification. Switching to Chakra of the Great Snow Mountain's backup. Switch successful. System notification. Insufficient energy. The system has switched to the lowest energy consumption mode. System notification. Naruto and Tobirama looked at each other. Dang. The surrounding chakra of the Great Snow Mountain suddenly turned off. The originally bright 12 floors and the entire Great Snow Mountain Research Institute suddenly went dark. System notification. System survival time calculation. Naruto teleported next to Uzumaki Mito, which was the roof, connecting the center of the 12 pillars. What are you doing? I just let you see, I didn't ask you to change it. Naruto's expression was very serious. Uzumaki Mito shrank his neck in fear. I think there's a problem with this algorithm, so I changed it. There's a problem with the algorithm? Could it be the efficiency of chakra synthesis can be increased? Naruto's tone eased. You change the rune back first. If you need to experiment, I can build another chakra synthesis rune for you, but this is a matter of great importance, you can't change it. Uzumaki Mito quickly nodded, pressed his hand on the rune, and changed the deleted thing back. Naruto's ears. Chakra supply system found. System notification. Chakra supply system reconnecting. The surrounding chakra of the Great Snow Mountain reignited. Come on, tell me what you think. Naruto was surprised that Uzumaki Mito could change the rune. Because this set of runes is already the same as the traditional two-dimensional rune. Ordinary ninjas can't understand it. Then, The two of them began to discuss the matter. Naruto built a simple model with ice release. Uzumaki Mito made changes on the model built by Naruto, and a few hours passed unknowingly. You want to add a convergence core here? It's not that I haven't thought about adding a convergence core, but the energy balance has been unstable. Naruto questioned Uzumaki Mito's proposal. Uzumaki Mito said confidently, "Leave it to me." After a few minutes, a dual-core chakra convergence array was formed. The array was activated, and it was working normally. The power was doubled. Naruto saw the whole process in his eyes, and then built another model, this time according to Uzumaki Mito's method. The activation was successful. Uzumaki Mito praised, "Not bad, you learned it after seeing it once, and your talent is only a little worse than mine." Naruto didn't answer. Naruto was thinking hard. Then, he got angry and built another one. This time, he added another one on top of the two. The result was a failure. Uzumaki Mito explained, "Wrong, wrong, 3 piled up is different from 2, like this." Uzumaki Mito changed Naruto's curse seal. Then the array was successfully activated. Naruto understood the problem, and at the same time exclaimed, "I understand the principle, but how did you think of it?" Uzumaki Mito said matter-of-factly, "Because I am a genius." This reason. Naruto gave full marks. Then, can the chakra decomposition array also be made into a dual-core one? Naruto experimented. Success. Little Nine, I think. Before Naruto finished speaking, Nine Tails roared, "Don't even think about it. I will never feed you chakra." Naruto touched his nose awkwardly. But he still wanted to find something to try. He felt that it would be interesting. Uzumaki Mito's eyes sparkled. "What should we study next? Why don't we modify that big guy together? According to my inference, it can be directly upgraded to a triple core. It must be modified, but there was no hurry. Let's talk about it later. I want to ask you something. Can you break the seal that needs the key after losing the key?" Uzumaki Mito blinked and said matter-of-factly, "If the key is gone, make another one." Naruto. Ha. Make another one? There is a master key in the sealing technique. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.